What's going on, man? Welcome back to the basement. I'm Ron, and today we have Mr. BBM himself, legendary upside, the man who has never drafted a running back before, besides when he took too early and shipped BBM3. How is it going, Pat Kerrane? Welcome to the channel.
It's going good. Yeah, thanks for having me on, Ron. This will be fun.
Now, I saw, you took your winnings and you built something, which I think is really cool. You built legendary upside, which, by the way, everybody on my channel probably knows at this point. Like, probably the last 2 years, I have referenced your legendary running back article, which I think is I think it's one of those articles that I think has really stood the test of time. Like, I think in terms of like drafting, I'm going into drafts with, I think your legendary running back article is great. Of course, I did dead zone running back stuff, and then Siegel's, drafting through the flex and then having like more than that. I think if you sort of combine those three, you're pretty much good to go. But what I will say is, since you dropped that article, we haven't really had a true legendary running back season since that year. You know what I mean? In terms of like those big, like 22.5 plus points per game. So I guess what I'm saying is, do you feel responsible for that? But on a serious note, do you think, do you think we have one in 2023?
I would say I think we have had one, and just one in each of the last 2 seasons. If you look at what Jonathan Taylor did through 17 weeks, rather than going through the full 18-game season, he was there with this arbitrary threshold that I used of 23 PPR points per game with a minimum of 12 games played. That was kind of the arbitrary threshold that I used for this. Taylor got there through 17 weeks, I believe, and then Eckler did last year as well. But of course, whether or not we get one back who exactly meets those thresholds isn't really that important. What's important is there a back who scores a ton of points and separates from the other running backs in a very meaningful way. And I think Taylor and Eckler both completed that, especially because, Eckler was so good in the playoffs as well. Like, he really was the guy we were looking for when we were taking early running backs last year. We're looking for that Eckler season. It wasn't as dramatic and impactful as we've gotten from Christian McCaffrey in years past, or even Todd Gurley in his prime. But I would blame the NFL at large for that rather than my article.
Yeah, 100%. And it's actually interesting that, I was looking through it, and you could call them legendary running back in the context of their season, but it's pretty crazy. I think I was looking back, since 2018, so the last 5 seasons, Eckler and JT didn't even crack the top 8 best points per game season by a running back in that span. So it's just I don't know. I know, of course, Legendary Upside, which is your channel where you have articles coming out. I'm sure you're going to have, I think one of the must-read articles of the summer is when you sort of come out and break down sort of the upside case and the downside case for each of those early round.
I'll be doing that. Yeah, I'll be doing that, and it'll be a free article as well. I'm planning to keep that one free.
All right, that would be sweet. I was curious, do you have any leans? I think McCaffrey is, of course, the guy, but do you have any leans in terms of guys you're chasing early that you think have that upside?
Yeah, so when I did the article, I kind of made the case of why this was important. I think people kind of generally, when you're drafting, especially as you get into fantasy and it's there aren't that many running backs, I'm taking a running back, I got to have points at running back. But running backs come with all this risk. We're often very wrong about how these projections are going to go. Running backs are much easier to project because we can be this guy's the starter. We expect him to run this many times. He'll have, 65% of those or whatever. And so everyone kind of gets their volume, and all of a sudden they look like they're going to score all these fantasy points. But we're often just wrong about those, backfield depth chart type of decisions as we sit here in July and, in August. And we take on a lot of risk when we draft running backs. That's okay as long as you're getting the requisite upside for that. And, I was pointing out that when you look at you'll hear stuff the running backs on average are outscoring the wide receivers in this range. And it's averages work. The way averages work is if someone scores a ton of points, it lifts the average up for everyone. So all of a sudden the running back position looks awesome, but it's who cares about those? These guys are just riding the coattails of Christian McCaffrey. Let's draft Christian McCaffrey in his prime. So that was kind of the first part. And then I was all right, well, what do these seasons actually look like? how many of these guys had awesome offensive lines, how many of them had, a ton of receiving value, how efficient were they and all that. The answer is kind of like you do want almost everything to be in your favor, but the receiving value is probably like, if you had to pick a single thing, it's probably the most important thing. But it's also just like workload is not generally going to be able to get you there. You want a guy who's going to be able to be very efficient. Youth is really important. Probably an underrated. I know we talk about youth a lot at running back, but I think it's probably underrated still when we think about who can crush a fantasy season. You're probably talking about a guy on his first contract, maybe 25 or younger. Once you hit 26, I'm already starting to be like, is this guy really capable? Outside of maybe like a McCaffrey type profile of breaking things. Eckler did it last year as an older back, and he is a elite receiving weapon, which I think is really important to consider when you're drafting anyone who's a bit older. With all that in mind, the guys who check the boxes, McCaffrey obviously checks a lot of the boxes. Eckler's a little shaky just because he's getting so old. Breece Hall's the guy who really jumped out this year. And we have the ACL tear, so it's harder to fully invest in him. But the market agrees with that, caution. And so you can get a guy who I think probably has the highest upside of any non-McCaffrey back. Because if they play McCaffrey 80% of the snaps, he's gonna smash. But of all the rest of them, I think Breece Hall probably has the highest upside if he's healthy. He showed incredible efficiency last year as a receiver. In addition to as a rusher, he's got size. He's just had a huge quarterback upgrade. Overall offensive firepower and the ability to put up points is obviously very important to the running back position. He was highly drafted. He was a great prospect. This is a team that did show they were willing to lean on him a bit. It was a very small sample of that before he went down, but he's the guy that's really jumped out as like, and even more, I think, than a Josh Jacobs or a Ramondre Stevenson, who go in kind of a similar range. I think he can. Honestly, like his profile last year was so impressive. It was on a small sample, but if he hadn't torn his ACL, I think we'd be talking about him as an early first-round pick.
You're preaching to the choir. You're like, I'm a Jets fan, and I keep on having to like, am I being a homer? Like by like hammering Breece Hall, like is this me being a Jets fan, or is this a profile that I don't want to miss out on? And I think as well with the win rate stuff. Now I will say I've been researching an article, or not an article, but a video myself. RotoViz actually took down the Fanball win rates that I believe you used in the article. But it's interesting because they switched it to like FFPC, which the win rates are a little bit off because I don't know if it's tight end premium or whatever.
It is tight end premium, yeah. And the ADPs are slightly different, yeah.
And it's interesting that it's kind of like a sliding scale, like the later you go, you don't have to hit a 22.5 plus
That's right.
per games. So especially with Breece, if he starts falling with the Dalvin Cook stuff, or like people are going crazy about the pup stuff. Like I actually had a tweet. I said, I'll eat this tweet if Breece Hall doesn't play week 1. Like I think that was like a month ago. And I will, but I think he's playing week 1.
I think he's playing week 1 too. I agree.
Comes out on the pup. Some guys in my mentions last night at like 2 a.m. saying num 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 under that tweet.
Well, that was funny because like the pup thing, I think everyone's getting educated right now. Like he's not been placed on the in-season pup. That has not happened. Neither has Isaiah Pacheco. Like it just means he's not practicing right away in training camp, which has been the expectation for months. So
exactly,
I don't know.
But I also wanted to ask, kind of like before we hop into this draft here, like what's your volume looking like right now? Because I know me and you, we're back to back in a Mastiff right now. We're going. I have a bunch of slow drafts going. I keep on diving into these one-off tournaments that they keep putting out, and then I'm like, man, I got to get close to maxing it. And I got to be honest with you, man. Like my BBMs right now, I plan to max it, but I'm at 32 right now.
Oh, so man.
We're lacking a little bit. Like how are you kind of dividing up your resources right now?
Well, I'm more than halfway through BBM. I think I'm around 80 or just under 80 BBMs drafted. I'm mostly fast draft. I think I draft much better teams fast. And like people sometimes talk about the competition being a little softer on fast drafts. I think that can be true. You're way more likely to get a full auto draft out of someone in a fast draft. But sometimes that can be frustrating, especially if you have a couple and all the quarterbacks get snapped up or something. To me, though, it's more about I'm trying to build these teams that, are correlated. They have stacks. They're built for week 17. But I'm also doing that without reaching, right? This is possible. This is, the straw man of, we're all reaching 3 rounds for a week 17 bring back is like a total straw man. You can build really correlated teams that make bets on specific offenses, that make bets on specific games in week 17. And you can do it in a way that actually makes the overall team stronger than if you didn't think about that. I really feel strongly that that's possible. It helps you take guys you don't normally feel comfortable taking. It helps you build a better portfolio because you're getting a guy that you don't normally take, but you're getting him in a position on it, within a group of other players where if he goes off, that team is really likely to do well and advance. And it's also really likely to do well if it does get into the week 17 final. So I really prefer fast drafts for pretty much every contest. The only ones that I'm doing slow drafts right now are the Mastiff because it doesn't really feel fast. I'll probably end up having to do some more slows on DraftKings, but I've been trying to do the $44 tournament on DraftKings, which is a pretty interesting. It's kind of like a Best Ball Mania type of thing, except it pays out more like 200,000, I think is the top prize, but it's not quite so big. So I like that one. I've been trying to do a lot of stuff on DraftKings. I've probably done 700 plus drafts since the NFL season ended. I know I've done over 500 on Underdog. I've probably done 200 plus on DraftKings. So yeah, I've done a lot of drafts this offseason.
I'm at like 300, and I consider myself a grinder. So
I mean, you are. Don't let that change your mind on that. I mean, I've obviously been trying to get more volume down after winning.
Of course.
This next year I'll probably be more like 300 by this time.
All right. With that being said, I've decided let's hop into a fast draft of our own. Pete's such a wizard with the StreamYard stuff, man. Like I'm over here like sitting 3 hours to change the background.
Tell me about it.
Here we are, Fast Draft Central. Oh, I'm getting a call. All right. Best Ball Mania 4. Let's hop in one of these. I was also going to pick your brain on, I know I heard you saying, like you star both sides of the week 17 matchup. Are you still doing that when you draft solo? Because I've been burned a few times with like, you take Josh Allen early and then you take Dawson Knox like 40 picks past ADP because you're just not looking in the 14th or like the 12th round or whatever.
I had a team I was loving. One of my favorite starts, I forget what it is now. I probably made myself forget, but I have, I think 4th round Cam Akers on that team, which is not as bad as it could be, but it's not early. The way it's like if you have a great 3-player start, you don't want to tack on Cam Akers right away.
Oh, we got the Influencer 101. We'll take it.
All right. I love it.
You have probably just Jefferson, but I'm open if you have a case for anybody else.
No, I'm Jefferson for sure. But I do star. On my own. It kind of scrambles. If I'm with guests and stuff, I feel like people are like, "What are you doing?"
Now, this is getting super inside baseball because I've been doing it with my slow drafts. Do you get to a certain point in the draft where you're done starring? Like if you take a Patriots player in like round 14, are you going Bills, Patriots even in round 14 just to star him up?
Honestly, I probably would with the Patriots just because they're so easy to backdoor stack and I don't mind it. But yeah, if I take AJ Dillon and it's my first Packer or Viking, I'm not starring like Jaden Reed. Really,
that's fair.
Unless I really kind of got boxed out of quarterback and I'm like, this is a path for me to do a Jordan Love thing. It would be dependent on that, but generally I'm like, also sometimes I just feel a little lazy. You're like, I'm not gonna bother starting Jaden Reed because I took AJ Dillon. What are we doing?
Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at in terms of like right now in terms of slows. I think my goal is for August. I don't think I'm gonna do any slows in August. Like we get so busy in August, man. Like
I'm with you.
I have over like I'm literally staring at my phone right now of like I don't know. I would say probably like 80 slow drafts, maybe 100 slow drafts. And it's just to the point where you wake up, the first thing you do is you just make sure you didn't get autoed or you get them all out of the way.
I woke up on DraftKings yesterday, pulled up a slow draft, and I had 45 seconds to make a pick.
Yeah,
it's like a fast draft, except you haven't been drafting the whole hour. You're just like, oh god, what does this team have? So it's slow drafts stress me out, especially on DraftKings where you only have the 8-hour clock. It never extends. But I did 150 max the puppy 2, almost all slows. Like probably 130 of them were slows. And I did
something similar with the big board, man, and they started shrinking the timer because the draft crept up on us. So I was sitting there with like 80 drafts with like 2-hour timers. Like it got to the point where like the day before the draft, like I wasn't getting work done. Like I was just on the clock.
You were in fast
perpetuity.
Yeah.
We got a $5 donation from Bindles. I appreciate it, man. Legendary Basement, $2 million basement. Love this collab. I guess those are some nice names for I guess a merging of the two brands, but. Yeah, we had AJ Brown go 4th. That's interesting. Nothing else. I mean, Devontae 8th. I mean, we have some guys who are throwing ADP to the wind, in this draft.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, McCaffrey falling this far is pretty surprising. I guess once AJ Brown goes 4th, so that's just setting up a Hurts thing. I mean,
yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
I mean, I can kind of see it. I have a tough time. I'm curious, like, where are you at on the Eagles pass offense right now? Because I think everybody's inclined to say that they're all over them, which, like, sure, they're going to be a good offense. I love the Eagles last year because we were getting a discount, right? Like, we could get so much profit, right? Just saying, like, Hurts can throw the ball, so AJ Brown, Devonta. And now it's like, man, like, we're kind of talking about, I mean, I've seen points that, like, maybe they're going to pass more, but I mean, like, this is a really good team. The division's not crazy strong or anything. Like, what if they're just dominant again and, like, we're kind of drafting them at their ceilings? Like, I just have a hard time seeing how their absolute smash is where they're going in terms of, like, AJ Brown and Devonta Smith right now, without, like, an injury to one or the other, I guess.
I take a lot of AJ Brown where he goes, but it's more about, like, I don't – like, yeah, would I prefer that AJ Brown was the 112? Yeah, that would be much better. Yeah. But it's like I think Diggs has a little bit of question marks now. I mean, he's in a good spot, but he's another guy that I would prefer be like the 112. There's no one who I'm like, man, this is an amazing 107, 108 pick. Even Kelsey, I wish was a little bit cheaper.
Yeah,
it's kind of that top 6, assuming we can count on Tyreek after that boat incident thing. That's or the top 5, sorry. And then Kelsey's kind of locked in as your 6th. And so, but I do like AJ Brown, I think, more than most analysts. I just think he's really good. The offense is amazing. And his single week upside is not in question. Like he can put up a huge week, which I feel better about him than Devontae Smith that way.
I feel the exact same. Do you have any leans for the? Oh, I would have loved Higgins.
Smith.
I don't have a lean at all here. I don't have a. You could go Andrews. You could go an elite QB if you want.
I would be down with Andrews. I think Andrews is a good pick here.
All right, so let's go Andrews first. Open to Metcalf. Open to, like, I've reached all the way down to Debo on some of these. I mean, we can go Lamar, but I feel like that's pretty like almost common.
I'd be fine with Breece Hall, dude.
You know what? Let's go Breece Hall.
All right. There you go.
Let's go Breece Hall. Now,
dude, did you hear his place on the pup?
And we got 2 13-week bye, guys. Come on, man.
We already blew it. The bye week pros are already coming for us.
But I was going to say the one last thing on the AJ Brown point. I would say AJ Brown's the one I'm more comfortable drafting as well, because I agree with you. Like, I've been saying, like, the 6 just sucks, man. Like you said, like, there's nothing there's nothing I want to press the button on once Tyreek threw Jefferson and then McCaffrey
Yeah.
off the board. So I'm fine AJ Brown structurally, but it's more so that like 2-3 turn Devonta where I guess you get squeezed out of wide receiver, but I also don't see like Devonta's like median projection as that much different than like Calvin Ridley and Debo. You know, it gets tough for me.
I feel you. Yeah, I think like I feel like I'm making a little bit of a sacrifice with AJ Brown, who I like, but I still feel like I said, is probably more of a 1-2 turn type of value.
Yeah.
I just think he's like the best of the bunch. And I think I've heard a lot of people basically say they don't think he's the best of the bunch, which is I totally get. The issue with me with Smith is that I think he's more of probably an early third value. I think Higgins is probably like an early third value as well. And they're more late second, 2-3 turn. And I really do feel like they're getting put where they are because people just need the wide receiver. And once Olave used to go in like early third, back in the big board, you can get him in the third all the time. Those days are over. And I think he is deserving of where he's going. I think he has kind of that mid-second upside to his profile. Certainly it's not a perfect situation for him, but like he showed a ton, second-year player, underrated prospect. I was guilty of underrating him for sure.
Me too.
And could emerge as the clear number one. And I like guys who are the clear number one of the teams plus a deep threat. Like that's to me, that's single week upside, you know?
Yeah.
But after him, I think there's a big tier break. And I think you could make the case that Olave marks a tier break that doesn't really end until like Brandon Ayuk or something.
Yeah, I agree. And I've been coming around on Olave too. Like at first, I think I was kind of letting, because you said you weren't that high on him coming out. Like I wasn't high on him coming out, just because it was kind of the senior declare thing. Like he wasn't an early declare. He was never really he was like never the number one in that offense. Like to me coming out, he just didn't have like a great ceiling. I remember like his comps were kind of like a Tyler Lockett-ish, right? Like a downfield like possession guy. But if you're going to be a downfield to this point where you're top 10 in yards per out run, top 10 in ADOT, and then also have like a 26% target per out run, then you kind of smash that ceiling that I
think
thought
I had Emmanuel Sanders for him as a potential.
Yeah. He's like kind of, like those guys that like never have like a smashing like 20 plus point per game type like wide receiver season, but I think he kind of sheds those comps after his year one. And I'd rather him let me down than kind of whiff on him. But we do have a super chat here. Another super chat. I appreciate you. Said, loving the stream, guys. Appreciate all your work. What are your thoughts on Bijan this year? Now, Bijan, if the legendary running back this year isn't Breece Hall, I've been loving Bijan. Just because kind of what we talked about earlier with like we haven't had a legendary running back in a while. Like I kind of like betting against the current landscape, but just saying, what about the fresh legs? Like we've seen Saquon have like 24 points per game. We've seen Zeke come like just shy of 22. So why not Bijan in like a crazy good like run scheme with like a good offensive line, receiving upsides there. He's probably like maybe my most drafted first round pick right now, Bijan.
I'm overweight Bijan too. I have him on 10% of my underdog drafts. So I'm into him. I'm not like
leans here.
Oh, yeah.
McLaurin
I like a lot.
Yeah, I love McLaurin here too. After that, I'm a little bit lost though. I mean, we could just take a quarterback. We could go Kirk or Deontay.
I don't see how we stack Fields or Burrow very easily. I think maybe Kirk. I don't like Kirk. If you had any other like wide receiver random, like I would be down for a wide receiver reach if you wanted to do that.
Let's just go Kirk. I don't like Kirky. I'm not drafting a lot of Kirk. I saw. I'm gonna have Jakob on after this for another draft. He posted like his exposure to like 75 WrestleMania drafts. I think Christian Kirk's like his fourth most drafted wide receiver. It was absolutely shocking to me. Because I'm with you. Like to be honest, that might be like the third time I pressed the button on Christian Kirk this offseason. Like, I haven't been taking a ton of him. He was maybe my most owned wide receiver his last year. Yeah, I have $4 in entry fees on Christian Kirk right now. So that's
like hard because what was that? There's like them in one. What was that $4 tournament? I even forget what it was called.
I don't even know. It might have been the. It was the
Oh,
Chihuahua.
poodle.
That's what it was.
Chihuahua. That's what it was. Yeah, the Chihuahua.
I have one Christian Kirk in the Chihuahua. I think I've maybe taken him in a slow that like has to catch up, but that's where I'm at on Kirk.
I'm slightly below the field on Kirk. I just am in this spot a lot because I do sometimes. I often take at least one running back on the 2-3 turn, and sometimes I'll take two, or I'll do this. I'll take two non-wide receivers, Andrews, Brees, that type of thing. And then I'm just like, dude, I got to take two wide receivers at 4 or 5. I really don't have a choice. Unless I do like a DJ Moore Fields thing, or, I have Chase and I'm going to grab Burrow and I'm going to push it. But I have to take at least one. Like I'm going to take two wide receivers through the first 5 rounds. And sometimes Kirk's like the only guy left, kind of like what happened to us. Like,
yeah,
so I end up taking him. But, if Tyler Lockett was just like, this was his ADP, I would take Tyler Lockett instead. Like, I don't really have a really strong case for Kirk. It's just, I'm kind of letting the market choose him for me there.
Honestly, I kind of like the Lockett call too. Like the issue for me, like once you get past Kirk, like all of these guys, like me and you, we're nerds. Like we like Deontay Johnson and Marquise Brown, but like they're all on terrible offenses. Like these guys, like you know what I mean? Like like at least Jacksonville, they're going to score points. But like Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh maybe terrible is a little bit, over exaggerating.
Uninspiring.
Like, I'm not excited to get any of these guys in the 5th round. I kind of agree. Like I could make the case for Lockett over Kirk, and we could have maybe reached on him.
I take JSN sometimes as a big reach too. I like the Seattle offense.
Do you ever pair JSN with Lockett? Because I'll find myself at a turn. I don't know if it's this turn right here. I think it is this turn where I'll like come around here and I'll get JSN and Lockett and mix that in. I think it's viable because you could have like Lockett early season and JSN like late season, kind of boost the Geno. I think it's probably a good way to get like leverage on early DK teams. I think that's one of the things I'm seeing in a lot of like my comments and live chats is that like Metcalf shouldn't go this far ahead of the.
I agree with that. I do not have much Metcalf. Davis Maddock keeps telling me I'm going to lose all my money because I won't take DK Metcalf. I rarely take him. I'm at 1% so far. It's not so much. I think Metcalf's like so overvalued, but I don't love, like, I like Debo more than him. I will take him over Debo just because I have so little, but like, his price doesn't make a ton of sense to me. I think he's probably around too expensive. And then you can sit back and get JSN and Lockett sometimes together. You used to be able to do stuff where you'd grab like Deontay and then JSN or Lockett. I mean, Deontay's risen so much, you could do it the reverse for a while. You grab the Seahawk guy first and then grab Deontay in the 6th. So I have a lot of stuff like that. You can grab Freiermuth late. So you can build that Seattle stack pretty easily.
Warren too.
Warren, yeah. I like
Fant. I was mixing Fant with Geno at the back end.
Yep. Yeah, I'm at 11.5% Geno, so it has not stopped me from getting exposure to Seattle. Now, I definitely wish that I had more Metcalf, because I mean, if Seattle's awesome, Metcalf's going to have a good year.
Yeah,
but it just feels really expensive compared to his teammates.
This is just a hunch, all right. So hold on. All right, so you have any leans here? We have like Evans, Dotson. If you want to go like full on Washington, got Pickens.
I'm into Evans and Dotson. I think those are both pretty nice here.
All right, let's go Evans, Dotson. Josh Norris absolutely eviscerated me for Mike Evans is probably, I'll check right now. I've been trying to ease off Evans in a lot of these slow drafts. Evans right now is probably like, if I look through, yeah, he's my 3rd most drafted wide receiver right now, Mike Evans.
I've been making a point to get more of him.
Really?
I was taking a lot of Burks, and so now,
yeah,
I wish I took more Evans instead of Burks, who's going to be more like at the 7-8 turn or late 7th.
Which I don't mind Burks once his price settles out. I think I just don't want to take him wherever his ADP is right now.
I've been passing now. I'm going to let the market figure out where it wants to take him, and then I'll be back in.
Yeah, I agree, because I think Hopkins probably isn't great for his median, but I'm not sure. Like I think like kind of Devonta Smith last year is kind of like what his ceiling would be like, where like next to a target hog and is efficient and kind of maybe scrape his way to a wide. Maybe not. I know Devonta Smith flirted with top 12, but that was because the offense was so good. But like wide receiver 2, we'll see. It's a an upside pick for sure. Like I'm not sure. Like I made this point on Twitter. I'm not sure like his projections all that different from Pickens, where Pickens is going to end up as a higher ADP than his, but like they're both like I'm not excited about a Matt Canada offense. Like you also have a Deontay Johnson who's as big as a target hog as a guy like DeAndre Hopkins. So it's tough. I'm not drafting a lot of Pickens.
Yeah, I think I'm not drafting a ton of Pickens either. I have forced myself to take him over Burks a little bit just because, like I said, I have a ton of Burks. I think Burks is a pretty interesting second-year breakout guy. I think I just think he's underrated a little bit in terms of what his sort of talent upside could be. Like he was a first-round pick, very productive, essentially learning a new position last year. If you read Matt Harmon's reception perception, I mean, he was a little bit lukewarm on how he was doing last year, but was very clear that Burks was in fact like a traditional X wide receiver last year, not gadgety at all. And if you look at like ESPN's open score, he was pretty good in that metric, kind of rate very similar to like Drake London in that metric. So Pickens did not perform well, and Pickens is right next to Mike Williams in ESPN's open score, which uses the player tracking data to see how open these guys are, and it's not just on targeted routes. They're able to look at when the ball was thrown, kind of where all the receivers are. So to see Pickens next to Mike Williams makes a lot of like intuitive sense to me.
Yeah,
that's kind of who he is, right? He's like he's going to make he's going to do this a lot, He's going to do this. He's going to fall down. Yeah, but it's not going to lead to a ton of yak. That's just not really his profile. And if he was with Josh Allen, like I would feel differently. If he was with Justin Herbert, I'd feel very differently. Like he's with Kenny Pickett, I just don't know that he's going to be
the archetype just doesn't match up, like Pickett, like Pickett's not going to be like he could get open, 25, 30 yards downfield. Pickett might not be able to get there. Like two gloves in like a 40-degree Pittsburgh game. It's not getting there. I'll also say too, I like your point on what Harmon said, where he was playing his unnatural position last year. I kind of like the idea of Hopkins being like more of this true X, and then you can kind of move Burks around the formation as like a Z sort of like flanker, maybe put him in the slot a little bit. Like I think it frees up Burks to sort of go back to what he's more comfortable with.
I'm curious how they handle that, because I could see it being that Burks just holds down the X and they move Hopkins around. And because Hopkins, I think, is not who he used to be. I don't think Hopkins is that downfield threat anymore. I think he's more of an intermediate. I think this is the Larry Fitzgerald in the slot era of his career at this point. His ADOT has declined. In 2 of the last 3 years, it's been pretty low. And the 1 year where it wasn't low was the 2021 season, where we were like, uh-oh, what's going on with Hopkins? Then he gets suspended for part of the following year. But last year he was pretty good, but it was on that lower ADOT. And I just don't know if he's going to be challenged in defenses deep, where I think Burks probably can if he takes a bit of a step forward. And all the reports out of training camp have been very positive on Burks. One thing I would say too is that Pickens has to deal with Freiermuth. He's got to deal with an offense that's going to be a little bit more spread out. They're probably like Allen Robinson is their slot receiver, and Allen Robinson's not someone I want to be drafting, but I think is probably going to get his targets to some extent. Like it's just not going to be a super condensed target tree in Pittsburgh, I think, where the Titans target tree could be very, very condensed, especially because Chigakonkwo might be more of a part-time guy like he was last year.
Do you have any leans here? Like I'm looking, there's nothing that looks that pretty.
Nothing looks pretty. No. We should go I would probably go running back here.
Do you want to go one of the Cooks? We could go Gibson, Dillon. Dillon gives us Vikings bring back options.
I'd be down for Dillon for sure.
Let's go Dillon. What are we
looking at stack wise? We got Jefferson, we got Washington, we got Jacksonville, Tampa. We got some ugly offenses. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, we sure do.
I'm not dying.
I'd go James Cook.
Yeah, I'm cool with James Cook.
We could do like a Mac Jones backdoor thing later, which Cook would be a part of that.
Yeah, that's perfect. So we got like Green Bay as kind of like a little bring back with our Jefferson. we have Sam Howell down the line. I know how much you love Sam Howell. I think you said recently that you're coming around on Sam Howell, right?
I'm more coming
Maybe
around
in
on
Dynasty.
Ritter. In Dynasty, I'm definitely coming around. I mean, I don't know that I was ever out on Howell in Dynasty. People probably thought I was. But like to me, it's all a payoff thing. Like Sam Howell in best ball, it's like you're kind of taking on, I think, underrated risk. Like people don't realize how much risk they're taking on. Like when you draft a quarterback, you only draft 2 to 3 quarterbacks, and if you're drafting 3 quarterbacks, the way you should be doing that is that you don't have an elite quarterback. You need those. So in some ways, right? If you draft Patrick Mahomes and Sam Howell, like I'm probably more okay with that generally, because like if Sam Howell doesn't play half the season, you'll probably be fine. You have Patrick Mahomes, you know, like when Liam Murphy won Best Ball Mania 2, like he had Josh Allen and Justin Fields, and Fields really didn't do anything for him. I think he might literally not have hit his lineup. So if you hit on the elite quarterback, then maybe you aren't taking that much risk if you take a Howell, you know, and you're just hoping he spikes a couple times for you. But in those 3 quarterback builds, like I think you kind of really don't want one of your quarterbacks to become a 0 for, you know, half the season. And Howell has that. It's not just that he could get benched for the end of the season, which I think is possible, but like, I mean, they're a very strong candidate for the wheels to fall off and him to be benched for a long time. And that really hurts in best ball. And for what? Like, what's the upside? Like, in this case, we've been boxed out. We'll probably draft Howell, but I don't like to plan for it. I don't like to plan for it because I'm like, what's really the payoff? But in Dynasty, like, I don't have that question. If Howell is really good, the payoff is huge. So I'm willing to take on the risk just because my payoff is so much higher.
I actually find it interesting. You said that you prefer him in of course you've done some shows with Jakob Sanderson and like Davis Maddock. So I remember him writing on his Substack that Desmond Ridder and Sam Howell are 2 of his like 10 players to form championships around. And he said, in terms of Howell and Ridder, he said, drafting one of these 2 pivots is nearly mandatory in all of my 3 quarterback builds, and which one I choose is based off of whose stacking partner I've drafted. So he actually prefers it in 3 quarterback builds. I can't say, I wish I could skim the rest and kind of figure out why that's the case, but I just find it interesting that he prefers them in 3 QB builds.
I think how, like, I get it in some ways, you know, like I'll take Kyler Murray sometimes is like an upside generator for those builds. Howell, I think, fits that. It's like a lot of the guys available late are the kind of the Kenny Pickett or the Jordan Love types. But Love maybe could rush a little, but generally I think it's going to be a run-first offense. It's like hard to see how much upside you're getting out of a lot of these later round guys. And Howell has upside. Like Howell can score points even if he's not that good, you know. Like Howell has a good arm. He's going to run some
rushing upside. Yeah,
he does. It's that he throws interceptions and gets sacked a ton. He gets sacked a lot. And that's getting sacked a lot with a coach like on probably the hottest seat in the league. Seems like a bad combo.
Hyping
hot seat seems bad. But with a high paid talented backup. Sorry, what'd you say?
I said Bieniemy is literally gonna have like an underground, like he's just gonna, like, Rivera's just gonna come to the office one day and it's just gonna be Bieniemy in his seat and they're just gonna tell him to go home.
Yeah, no, seriously, like, it's a Rivera's key card is no longer working type situation. Yeah. And then maybe Bieniemy prefers Howell, but like the NFL is like chaotic enough. Like I don't want Howell to be a huge part of my portfolio. I have taken him some. I'm at 3% overall, kind of by luck.
You've taken him some.
Yeah,
ever so sparingly.
Some. Yeah.
You have
I'm at
any
6% in Best Ball Mania. Cousins is nice.
Cousins stands out.
What a gift.
I don't really see anything else that's all that. I mean, we got Njoku way past ADP, but we do already have an elite tight end.
He's a bring back on the Breece Hall thing. Yeah,
I'm down if you are.
Let's take the value, and because we're pretty good at running back.
Yeah, we're kind of. I mean, it's a very balanced team right now, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got Njoku. That I actually like that. It sets up a little Cleveland bring back. Set us up for like. I'm trying to even. I was about to say like Donovan Peoples-Jones, but I don't know about all that, man.
Well, we could do Rodgers and do like a
yeah, perfect.
Hardman or something.
Rest in peace, Denzel Mims.
Yeah,
he's been trying to get out of New York for forever.
I'm happy for him.
I'm curious. What did you think of Mims coming out? Because I kind of liked him before I had a prospect model, or I really kind of like looked into things like early declare and stuff. He kind of got all of us on like a one-off sophomore year, a decent senior year. Remember like Debo comps just in terms of like dominating the Senior Bowl, and then like I was psyched as a Jets fan because, and on top of that, like Joe Douglas kept on trading back. Like you traded back like twice and then took Mims, and I thought like every time I was like, dude, like just sit on the clock and take Mims here, bud. And it's just
I didn't love him.
Nothing.
I was more like, to me there was the three guys, Pittman, Claypool, and Mims, where I was like, I don't love these profiles, but like at least Mims is athletic and at least Claypool is huge and athletic. So I was like generally taking Claypool the most because he was the cheapest. But yeah, I wasn't that into Mims because I think he was an early declare, but not because he was a redshirt junior.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, so I think that was and he wasn't from like a huge program. So I actually was a little bit nervous about him. I thought he was mostly kind of an athleticism play.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I was too low on Pittman, but yeah, the guy that almost really burned me that year was T. Higgins, who I thought was real boom bust. And
his college profile is crazy because of Clemson blowouts. Like I think Jack Miller has this tweet where it's like T. Higgins wasn't playing in the second half, so all of his market share stats and everything, anything you run through a model with T. Higgins is going to come out a little bit wonky.
His yards per route run was awesome, though.
Yeah.
Because when he was out there running routes, he was awesome, as you would expect. But yeah, the yards per route run I think saved me a bit there because I was like, he strikes me as boom bust. Like if you put me under truth serum, I would have told you I think he's going to be more of a bust than a boom. But then I just made myself take him some because I was like, I legit think there is a ceiling here. So that's one thing I think I've gotten better at in Dynasty is like my lean with Quentin Johnston is that he will be a bust, but I also think he has a super high ceiling. So I'm just like, then take him anyway, at least some. Don't be out on this guy.
Yeah, I have 46% Quentin Johnston in the big board.
All right,
and he's my most drafted wide receiver right now.
Where were you getting him there? I can't remember where he was going.
Honestly, not a crazy discount. I would say maybe like a round cheaper, like at best.
That's still good.
It's just one of those things where it's kind of peanut brain of me, but he does just feel like he was built for best ball. Like he could just have like 4 catches for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. You know what I mean? Like he can touch the ball 4 times, even if his win rate is dead. Like the last like 8 weeks or the last like 6 weeks, he could touch the ball 4 times, get you 100 yards and like 2 touchdowns. And just in that offense, like I was drafting him before I knew he was on the Chargers, so I really lucked out there. But
there was a period where he looked like he was going to be the first wide receiver off the board.
Yeah,
and was getting drafted like way after JSN.
Do we have any ideas here? I don't think none of these QBs really make sense for us.
What other running backs are available?
Could go Kendre Miller. We got Roshan, Singletary. We got.
I would do Roshan.
Yeah, I like Roshan too. We'll go Roshan. Can take a wide receiver, but they're all bad.
They're
man.
Not good.
We could take our sweet prince.
Oh no. So we got Thielen. No.
Like Miller, Thielen. I don't mind MVS, but like we don't really have any correlation there.
He was pretty bad last year.
Shark.
We could go Miller and be done, and just I know he's.
Yeah,
fallen.
I was gonna say Kendre Miller. Yeah, I was gonna say Kendre Miller because we already have Evans, so it gives us a little bit there.
Oh yeah, I like that.
Kendre Miller, Evans. Maybe those are the 2 guys you need. Who knows? Yeah, and then we could go like one more running back at most.
Yeah, we probably could do one more later.
Do you
them
have
to fall
anybody
in
like
there.
18th round that you've been liking recently? Because I keep on coming up empty there. I do like Keontae Ingram because I feel like you would I can't remember who you would talk to. I think it would be on like ship chasing or something. But like last year, you would talk about how you just like sort of like have a different flavor every like couple weeks. You know what I mean? Of a guy you keep taking late.
Yeah, I think that was with Davis last year on his pod. That's like I kind of would make myself like, because my thing is it's hard to, once you fall in love with a player like in the 18th round, you feel like you have a secret, it's like, I've got this guy, no one else is taking this guy, I'm going to smash because I figured out the 18th round. So it's hard to be like, no, stop taking that guy, you were wrong. Like, just emotionally, it's so difficult. But you can convince yourself that you have a new secret, that you have a new player who's going to smash. And so I would try to find someone else that I could get excited about in that range and then take an irresponsible amount of them but then move on.
Yeah.
And do that. As long as you can kind of keep finding someone that you're excited about. This isn't maybe the most exciting guy. I've taken a ton of Fournette in the last round.
Love Fournette.
And with the idea that like I'm around 20% on Fournette right now, and my sincere hope is that he signs somewhere, rises to like the 14th round, and I never have to take him again. Like, just this could be my whole portfolio portion of Fournette could be drafted in, the pre-August period, and then, sign with the Patriots, Lenny, jump to the 13th round, and then I'm good. But the other dude that I'm taking a lot of, to the point that he's, I believe, my highest drafted tight end. Yeah, my highest drafted tight end now. My 6th highest drafted player now is Michael Mayer.
Really?
I'm actually structuring teams differently sometimes because I'm just like, in the sense that if I have a choice of like a 12th round tight end, I just like, I'll sit back and take Mayer in the 18th round. He's almost always in the 18th round. And if he gets sniped, you can always take a Hunter Henry or many other solid tight end picks there. But he was a really productive college player at Notre Dame. He was an early 2nd round pick. I think people don't like that he's like a traditional tight end. I like that a lot. You know why I like his traditional tight end? Because he's a tight end. So he needs to, how do you get on the field as a tight end? By playing tight end, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's more of kind of like a Jason Witten type of archetype, more of like a Greg Olsen type of dude. Like, he's not the most exciting, but he's going to, I think, pretty quickly earn the tight end snaps. And that's the easiest way for a tight end to get like a 70% plus route rate as a rookie is to play the position they were drafted to play. I get nervous actually when I hear like Dalton Kincaid's going to play slot receiver. Like, really? Like, all the time over Khalil Shakir, all the time over Deontay Hardy, all the time? Like, no, like that. I hear part-time player when I hear that. So,
like, oh yeah, this running back's going to play wide receiver for us.
Right. Yeah. On like 10% of the snaps. That's cool. But like, what else is he doing? What's the rest of his job look like?
All right. So we're back on the clock here. Nothing is all that sexy that I'm looking at here. Couple things falling past.
I feel like we haven't enjoyed a turn since the first one.
We've been getting hammered on the turns. We're like kind of weak at wide receiver right now, but I actually kind of like I don't want to name names just yet, but we got some we got ideas here. It seems.
Well, what's quarterback look like? Because we just have Cousins, right? Yeah. I think we have a move.
Yeah. I think we're on a similar.
It's not my favorite move, but it's certainly doable.
Yeah. I think we're on a similar path here. I think we're gonna man up and probably take Ezekiel Elliott at this first one here. Just let's see what Graham Cracker does here. Please don't snipe us on Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah, don't snipe Zeke, please. I asked Sean Siegel if he wanted to take Zeke on our mega stream, and I legit he went no. I was like,
so Jordan Love and Jaden
Reed.
Yeah, 100%. Little bring back on Minnesota. Like I think some people would argue that like 2 guys in the same week 17 stack at quarterback like isn't great, but I mean like when they're this cheap, I don't think it's really a big deal.
it's not great because you've boxed yourself out of another opportunity to stack a game.
Yeah.
But have we really, if we're taking a third quarterback, and we already do, like, we have a bet on the Commanders in place. Like, there is additional correlation beyond the Love Kirk Cousins bet. So, like, yeah, I think it's much worse when you don't have any other Week 17 bets other than just this one big game stack. That feels like you probably overstacked that game, which can be okay, but then what else are you betting on to happen? Well, we're betting on the Commanders to have a very productive passing game that week at least. So, and we may that may
Sam
be
Howell
the third
throwing the
quarterback.
passes,
Right?
not
Yeah.
Jacoby Brissett.
Well,
Jacoby Brissett, man.
As of right now, we don't care. As of right now, either is fine.
The thing about Jacoby Brissett is, does Rod Rivera save his job for another year on the back of Jacoby Brissett? Can that get it done?
No, it is futile. He's going to get fired no matter what.
Yeah. It is funny that Sam Howell is almost his last hope. Like, if Sam Howell is this, diamond in the rough, like 5th rounder, then he probably gets, another like 3 years or whatever. But I mean, it's all looking pretty thin for Riverboat Ron, I'd say.
Yeah. Some people have been pointing out, like, in this, like, with this Titans stuff, like, oh, of course, like, the Titans weren't going to tank, like the idea that, like, Mike Vrabel would tank, like, and these NFL franchises never really want to tank. But that's my thing with the Commanders. Like, you're going to have to, they're not good. NFL teams, like, they don't look to the future very easily. They look to, like, the now, and it's going to come down to whether or not Sam Howell's executing the offense. If he's executing the offense, he'll be fine. If he's not executing the offense, then I think he's in trouble. But
I'm going to be very curious to see how the rushing actually translates over like a decent sample. Just because we've seen, you've seen your Manziels and Bakers, and I don't know, these like white quarterbacks that ran in college and then come to the NFL and they're just severely outmatched athletically.
Yeah.
So
he reminds me of Baker.
Yeah,
and Baker had his moments, so I don't mean that in a negative way, even though Baker has been terrible the last couple of years. But I think Baker's
first 3 years on the Browns, Baker was
pretty good.
People forget if Baker came into the NFL first overall, like in 2022, and then had his rookie year, like in terms of startup drafts right now with like the current ecosystem, like he'd probably be like a back end first in a startup draft right now.
Oh, like, I had a startup draft after that year. We reset a dynasty league. Yeah. And it was, we converted it to Superflex, and Baker Mayfield, I want to say, was on the 1-2 turn or in the early second. Cause we got,
and I get it.
Cohen. Yeah. I Cohen with my brother. We got Deshaun Watson a few picks after Baker. He was highly valued.
Cause I don't think he set the record, but he got close in terms of passing touchdowns for a rookie. Like he had like 28 or something crazy. Looked good. I hate to say, I think his first game he came on Thursday Night Football versus my Jets and beat us. But I don't know. There's some merit to the idea that like he had a shoulder injury and maybe he's like recovered from it, but at the same time, maybe the shoulder just never gets back to where it was.
Yeah.
All right. So, all right, we are on the clock here. We have Kenny Pickett way past his ADP, but we don't have any Steelers.
We don't have anything. Is wide receivers not unchecked? Just to be clear.
Yeah, wide receiver is not unchecked. We could try and make like a Stroud Woods thing happen here if you want.
I'm okay taking Howell. I mean, there's no reason to
Howell.
Make Howell. Yeah, let's take Howell. I've talked a lot of shit on him, but
we could take Ty Chandler, we could take Fournette, we could take a wide receiver here.
How many wide receivers do we have?
We got 6 right now.
Yeah. I mean, it would be nice to. I just don't see. I mean, I guess we could take Wandale and they'd go for the late season upside of him, but I'd also take. I would take Fournette.
Let's take Fournette, and our last pick will be a wide receiver.
That works.
In terms of who that wide receiver will be, Minnesota.
None of these guys
Green
really
Bay,
have appealing.
Nothing.
No.
Literally nothing. Diami Brown.
No.
He might be the guy.
Oh, hey, the college connection.
That is true. I actually didn't even think about that. Should bring over
That'd be so funny.
Daz Newsome.
I like De'Ami Brown coming out.
I liked him a lot too. I would say I have quite a few dying De'Ami Brown shares on a lot of teams right now. But I thought Nico Collins was dead, so we'll really see.
Where are you at on a guy like Collins? Are you selling, like, because we're kind of getting to the point where, like, Collins did it. He finally, like, he's fully broken out. He's the number one wide receiver, but he never actually has been. So he strikes me as someone you could maybe like cash in on.
I think you're right. I think you could cash in on him, but it's to a spot where, like, you probably can't get a second. Like, maybe you could do Nico in a third for a second. Like, he's such a small asset. Like, I'd almost, to be honest with you, where I have Nico Collins, I'm honestly holding on to him.
Okay.
And it's not even like I'm into Nico Collins, but I get what you're saying. Like, at this point, like, he was cuttable last year on dynasty rosters just after, like, doing nothing, and nobody was really excited to have him. But he is somebody that I'm hesitant to move on from. Now, if, like, there's somebody in my league who's a Nico Collins stan, and I have patron leagues out there. So if any of you guys are watching and you would like to pay a second for a Nico Collins share, send an offer.
Ask Jacob if he'd send a second, because he loves him in best ball. He says he should be like an 8th round pick in best ball.
Yeah, I'm not quite as high. I like Nico Collins. I like him. I can't quite get 8th round Nico Collins. Yeah, I mean, I'm at 15% Nico Collins, so I think a good bit of him. Just in terms of, I mean, like, downfield X wide receiver, I didn't mind him coming out either. But it's also at the same time, like, the ceiling in that offense, it gets a little bit dodgy. I question kind of like where Nico Collins can end up, but I guess I'm trying to think through. Like, I guess best case scenario, he can kind of be like a Michael Pittman, something in that area in terms of, like, a fringe top 24 guy in dynasty. So I can get there. I know he, like, kind of improved all of his route run stuff from last year, and there's not a ton of like X wide receiver competition on the Texans, but it's not an offense I'm super excited about in general, I guess.
No, me neither. Yeah.
Fez coming.
By the way, Jacob in the private chat already calling me out for bashing Sam Howell. I have bashed him quite a bit, and yet I've also drafted him on stream like numerous times now. I really do feel nervous about him, but you can box me into him.
Yeah, I'll take him. I'll take him where it makes sense. Like, if I take I don't know, if I take like Derrick Henry early, I'll get him on the back end. I was gonna say a thought that popped in my mind when I was asking you about, like, the late round running backs is I think it's funny because I think back then it made more sense. Like, okay, 18th round, I'm taking, like, my favorite late round running back, but it's almost now like you can kind of almost diversify that last round pick just through week 17 stuff, where it's like, okay, I have Vikings, Green Bay. I'll take, I know you've been, I butcher this guy's name every time I bring him up, but like Keenan Wangwu or Kene and Wangwu.
Kene and Wangwu, I think is right.
Yeah. I screw it up every time, but, like, yeah, he's interesting. Like, just in terms of, like, if you have quarterback stacks, you can kind of just, take that last running back as a correlation piece more than a taking a stand on a random 210 plus pick running back. I'm trying to think. God, McCole has a bring back on our Jets Brown stuff if we ever.
Oh, I like that. That works, I think. Yeah.
Corey Davis still around too. I like Corey Davis.
I like Josh Downs, okay, just because it's like a rookie wide receiver we know is going to be out there. Really doesn't have much competition for slot routes, I think.
I'm trying to think if anything else sticks out, but I think that's our three. Yeah, I like Downs as well.
I think the Hardman move is my favorite.
Yeah, I think so too. Fun fact, Hardman has me blocked on Twitter because I pointed out that the Chiefs messed up by taking him over DK Metcalf. I think he just I think he just searched his name and blocked me. I literally added, I was like, dude, like, you're a Jet now, like, unblock me, bro. Like, it wasn't even one of those things where, like, I literally scoff at people who, like, doesn't score 20 points, so he, like, gets in somebody's mentions or whatever. But yeah, I'm down for McCole. You're down for McCole here?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
All right,
you didn't tag him. You just said Miko
Yeah, I didn't
Hardman.
tag him. I literally just said like the Chiefs would just be like. I said I maybe it's Twitter, so I think I was like it's like a national travesty that they took McCole Hardman. I said they took McCole Hardman and Clyde Edwards-Helaire over DK Metcalf and Jonathan Taylor. But yeah, all right. So let's
And
look
look,
at this team.
CH hasn't blocked you, so come on.
Exactly. CH is a bigger man than McCole Hardman could ever dream of.
Yeah, not last offseason. He only weighed 110 pounds, but
that's my most drafted running back you're talking about there.
CH.
Yeah, dude, it's bad, man. Like if I go to yeah,
Still?
man. Yeah, man.
I took a lot in the big board.
Yeah. Like I have no words to defend this. He's
your highest drafted player.
Yeah, yeah. He just somehow keeps ending up on my teams. Like
Ron, you're supposed to fall in love and then move on the following week. You got to move on.
Oh, me and Clyde Edwards-Helaire are on the fringes right now.
This is not on the fringes.
You just wait. You just wait
This
for
is
all
the
of
love
these
of your
to wrap
life.
up. Just wait for all of these to wrap up, and Clyde will be down.
Okay,
he'll be down where you've never seen him.
All right.
But all right. So here's our team. Do you have any spot where you kind of wish, like, I don't know? I kind of love the team, like where we were given the draft. I will say, I like where we took Breece Hall. I guess my only thing is I remember listening to Ship Chasing last night while I was doing some work. You guys were talking through Breece Hall and that he might fall.
Yeah.
Do you like? I guess what's your sort of thought process of taking him early instead of letting him fall? Like, I guess you kind of get unique there at the turn.
I don't think. No, I could be wrong. I don't think he'll ever fall to the 412. And I also think that if Dalvin Cook does not sign there, then I'm going to feel awesome about him at the 301. So certainly if Cook signs, you don't love this selection. But I also think even if Cook does sign, like it really only crushes this team if Breece becomes regularly available at the 4-5. And then you could have gone. Although, again, the draft environment is so tough right now at wide receiver. That's like, what's the 2v2? McLaurin, or the 1v1. It's essentially McLaurin or Ridley. I think those guys are like somewhat comparable.
I agree.
So the opportunity cost isn't that high, unless you want to say just draft Josh Jacobs. The winner out of this running back group is going to be Josh Jacobs or Ramondre Stevenson. It's not going to be Breece, but
what
I don't know. I just think it's upside so high. I'm still willing to do it.
We sort of took like 3 dusty QBs here. Like, would you? I know you've been sort of fading the elite quarterback. So, would you ever debate just taking like a naked Mahomes or a naked, I guess, whichever quarterback you like of the bunch, and kind of filling that stack? I guess like without the number one guy.
I think if we had Higgins available too, maybe we would go Higgins Mahomes.
Yeah,
that would have been kind of fun. I probably need to do more of that. Probably need to go more naked elite quarterback with Mahomes or Allen in particular, and then build it out because they're pretty easy. I did that last night with the Josh Allen team. I ended up loving the team. I had a ton of correlation. I was able to
Knox and Gabe, and it's like
I actually went Kincaid, and I don't draft much Kincaid, but he fell to the 140 range, 142, something like that. Grabbed him there, plus Gabe, plus James Cook. Patriots bringbacks are super easy to get. I think I maybe just had Hunter Henry on that one, but you can usually get a wide receiver if you want to as well. So that's a bit of a sliding doors moment. That would be kind of interesting.
But that is the draft. I appreciate you coming on here. If I can figure out how to get us where I would like us to be, perfect. But yeah, I appreciate you coming out here, getting a draft, and I'll make sure I name it after Kerrane just to make sure. If we ship this thing, we're shipping this thing down together, though.
Yeah,
I almost think I was watching this morning. I wouldn't really call it as prep, but just because I was having you on the King Cap Herzig
that was a fun one.
Liam Murphy draft, which was hilarious. But I got it's almost like the Heisman house. Like I gotta get my entry in there, whether that's regular season or winning the chip. I gotta get in there. But yeah, I appreciate you coming on. I know you've been working over at Legendary Upside, so if there's anything you want to plug or whatever, tell us kind of what we can expect from you this summer in the coming weeks.
Yeah, the rest of the day I'm going to be writing up the fourth part of a series I've been doing on running backs. You can check out the first 3 parts of that series on legendaryupside.com. You can a fair amount, like but say about half or more of the article is free, and they're kind of bite-sized profiles on each player. So I would say, check it out, sign up for free over there at the very least. If you want to sign up, it's $99 for a year, $10 a month. But if you sign up for the yearly package, you're also eligible to get a $50 underdog credit. I have a limited amount of those. I don't have a ton left, but I do still have some left. Information on that at the top of the site under $50 underdog credit is the name of the button, so you won't miss it. But yeah, legendaryupside.com. I've also got a YouTube channel, got a podcast feed. That's all free. So ton of good content coming out for you all summer, including ranks for DraftKings and Underdog.
All right, perfect. I appreciate your time. I'll let you get to writing your running back article. I'll be interested to see what's going on over there.
Yeah, appreciate it.
All
Thanks.
right, I'll see you. All right. Now on the other side of the stream, we have Jakob Sanderson. What's going on, my brother? Been sitting backseat pilot for a little bit.
I like actually was dying backstage when you showed you willingly showed your 25% CH to the world. That was, and like the funny thing is, right after that, you have literally my 2 most drafted players in Kyle Pitts and Rashad Bateman. But and look, I'm not gonna lie, I'm ahead of market on CH. It's fine, I could admit it. 25%. Have some pride, dude.
Who among us doesn't have a dusty running back at 25%, man?
No, I do not. I have not. I have one running back at 25%. His name's Tony Pollard.
Look. I'm a changed man. Like that was past entanglement. Me and Clyde. I promise when these slows are up, he's getting down to like 15% and below. That was maybe the most embarrassed. That was maybe the most embarrassing moment of my life. I put it all out on the line for the people. I am who I am, man. But I was going to ask you about.
You are gonna get nice closing line value on him for sure. He's gonna be like with this Isaiah
That's what I'm saying.
news that's not even news, that has been known for.
Let me. Can I sell you on? Can I sell you on CH real quick, man? Like CH,
no, I'm above market on CH. You can sell me on CH. I get that he's a good pick. I'm not gonna like sit here and say that he's a good player. He can't play football, but I understand the thesis.
Dude, but if he's gonna be available every time in the 18th round, and it just so happens a lot of the time 25% of the time I probably have a Chief or a Bengal. I'm like, oh man, it's the 18th round. Clyde Edwards-Helaire here, former first round pick. Pacheco might be dust. McKinnon is like 39. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire was playing with I don't know, he lost like 40 pounds last year. I don't know. I'm not all that psyched about him, but they have a good offensive line.
That was 2 years ago. Last year was supposed to be the healthy redemption tour.
No. This one's the healthy.
I'm fine
the
with
redemption
CEH,
of the redemption.
CEH, I think there's pretty much. I mean, there's only been 3 running backs that I will click uncorrelated at the end of drafts, which is Fournette, Patterson, and CEH. Any other time, so. Probably 40% of my drafts are CEH, Patterson, and Fournette, and the other 60% are whoever's correlated, or it's just like my son's need a wide receiver or a quarterback or a tight end. But I'm with you on CH being a good pick.
Here's the thing, though. I got to put your feet to the fire real quick, pal.
Yeah, let's do it.
You dropped your exposure as well, 75 BBM drafts through.
Yeah.
What the hell is Christian Kirk doing so high, my brother?
You project really nicely. He goes in a range of wide receivers that is like he's just usually the last wide receiver left before what I consider to be a tier break. He's not that high on my overall exposures. I will find my it's been a weird thing where I guess I just keep drafting him in BBM. But if I look at my overall exposures, okay, it's actually still pretty high at 16%. All right, I lied. 16% overall.
Because I remember reading something. You had a tweet that
I didn't think I'd drafted Christian Kirk.
Yeah, you were talking to like the people who were drafted like Kirk and Ridley.
That's me. Yeah, see what I'm talking about.
I'm looking through here. We just drafted Kirk. Me and Kerrane, and I was looking through. I was like, I have $4 of entry fees towards Christian Kirk right now.
I have 416.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the thing. What do you want me to do? Okay, who do you want me to take? You have to realize.
We found ourselves in the exact spot.
Okay, but you also have to realize how tilted my exposures are. I have never ever drafted best ball with so many drafts concentrated at the exact same picks. So I am currently I want to say 37% of my drafts are pick 2 or pick 3. So everyone on this turn, I'm just drafting. Like Cup Chase Hill is 46% combined right now.
Really?
So Christian Kirk, like I'm going to be over like guys like Christian Kirk and DJ Moore, who I'm not like, I wouldn't say that I'm prioritizing. It's just I'm always picking there. And then like who else do I pick? I don't like, and I like Kirk more than some guys. Like I like Kirk more than DJ Moore. I like Kirk more than Brandon Ayuk. I like Kirk more than so it's like
take him over Hopkins. I'll give you that.
Yeah, that's right. I like him over Hopkins now. I didn't previously. I actually own a lot of Hopkins. I like Kirk more than Terry McLaurin.
I see the argument just because the offense is good. The offense is going to be good. But this is the exact spot you're talking about where, like, we took Kirk here and it didn't feel super, super gross. To me, he's the last wide receiver in the tier before Deontay.
Okay,
because it feels like there's a bit of a break.
In that tier is Ayuk.
Ayuk, but Kirk, like, kind of counts?
Like, well, like, whatever. Whoever's the last one there, I guess. But I'm saying, like, there's some people, that tier, like, once that tier clears out, where it's like Mike Williams and London and Hopkins and McLaurin and Moore and Ayuk, like that to me is a teardrop before you get into the Deontay Johnson, Chris Godwin, Marquise Brown.
Yeah, I agree.
But Kirk is very often the last one of that tier left, and it's not like he's my least favorite of them. Like I prefer him solidly over Ayuk, I prefer him solidly over Johnson. Like I'll tell you what, I'll say this. Okay, I've changed my stance on a few players since going through and doing like all the team level projections, and like I'm just gonna do my Leone impression, I guess. Like, Christian Kirk projects pretty well. he does. He projects well. What I don't get about, I tried to get into this actually when I was on Pat's when I was on Kerrane Bowl, because we took Christian Kirk, like the team that I did with Davis and Sam and Pat, and I was like pretty excited to take Christian Kirk, and the other three were like, "Oh, I guess we'll take Christian Kirk," and I was like, "No, like, we'll take Christian Kirk." and some of these people that I know like are also fading Ridley, and it's like if you're fading Ridley and you're fading Christian Kirk, like I don't know.
Yeah, you can't.
WYD.
Yeah,
like you got to pick a Jaguar. Like they're gonna be.
You can't pick Zay Jones and Evan Ingram.
Truth.
I don't think that's how to win millions of dollars with this Jags offense. I do agree though. Like I'll come around on Kirk. I'll probably start taking him more because to me, I can't quite get as extreme as you. Where I'll have him as the last wide receiver in this tier. I'll probably still take McLaurin, Moore, Ayuk over him. But like once they're gone, like we were here and we were staring on the barrel of like Deontay, a random, unstacked Fields, Burrow. I'll take Kirk there.
Who do you think is going to have a higher target share this year? Brandon Ayuk or Christian Kirk?
Just raw target share? I think they both are probably low 20s, but I would say probably Kirk. I'd say probably Kirk.
Okay, both low 20s. Which team do you think is going to pass for more yards and more touchdowns? The Brock Purdy 49ers or the Trevor Lawrence Jaguars?
Probably the Jaguars.
So it's in similar target share, extra 800 yards of pass volume.
I think Ayuk has more upside though. Like I think on the median, Kirk probably beats him out. But you get a McCaffrey injury or a Kittle injury or a Debo injury or just a crazy efficiency from Yak that Ayuk can possibly have. I get what you're saying.
I think Kirk's upside is like a little underrated though. I know that I've talked myself into this, so like I would have been pushing back a month ago, but I really talked myself into Kirk where it's just like he's gonna see a consistent target share in a really good offense. And I think that is upside. He might not he's not as good of a football player as Terry McLaurin, but he's not like a fragile, like bad football player. Like he's still gonna have a good role in this offense. And I think it's not dissimilar to like like a Tyler Lockett, who I think should be in this tier of like, you're going to see constant targets. You're going to see them in a good offense. You're going to have spike weeks just on like the normal distribution of your production. So I don't know. I'm pro. This is the pro Kirk hour of the podcast. I'll preach the good word, I guess. I've fully come around.
Now, before we get into draft, I wanted to pick your brain on, I think your writing is great. But sometimes I read your stuff and I feel like, you ever seen like Kanye in the Kobe Bryant commercial? Where Kobe Bryant's like, "Are you the same animal but a different beast?" And then Kanye's like, "What the fuck does that mean, Kobe Bryant?" I wish you knew what you were saying, but you compared running backs to balloons, and I like sometimes I'll read your stuff and I'm like, what is Jakob trying to tell me here? Can you kind of give the too long didn't read version of like what do you mean a running back is like a balloon? Because I'm trying to wrap my head around it. And I think that's kind of the beauty of what you do is these like metaphors. But I'm just sitting here. I'm like, man, like what is Jakob trying to tell me with the balloon article?
So I had this really long form metaphor that I did an article about. And to be clear, if like you wanted to sidestep the metaphor and you just want to read about how I think Leonard Fournette will impact Ramondre Stevenson, you can just like scroll down to the end. But basically, the general idea is that so you of course understand object permanence. The idea is I start off with this metaphor where it's like there's two boxes of two different sizes. Okay. And one box is a plastic cube. And if you try to put the plastic cube into the other box, it's not going to fit because they're different sizes. Like they're the same total area, but they're different dimensions. If that box is filled with liquid and you pour it into the other box, then it just fills it up. And it fills it up in a completely different shape, but it fills it up nonetheless. And the other one box is slightly smaller. And then if it's filled with a gas and you pour the gas into the box, then it expands and it grows to fill up the space entirely. And my argument is the way that we project quarterback, receiver, and running back seems to follow these three different substances. Quarterbacks are more or less like solids. You either start or you don't. And quarterbacks either project somewhere between 15 to 25 points in a game or they project for 0 points in a game. They either fit or they don't. The wide receiver is a little bit more like a liquid, right? They own their target share. But we also understand that in the context of a given offense, right, like we just talked about with Christian Kirk versus Brandon Ayuk, there's some room for variance in terms of how they actually project over the course of the season. Does the team pass more? Is there better or worse target competition? These things can kind of stretch the outer limits of that typical wide receiver earned target share to what they actually project for in the course of the season. But in large part, they own what they are, what area they occupy, just the shape changes a little bit. And running backs, we kind of project like gases, right? It's like, oh, there's 400 touches available. This running back can see all the touches because Chase Edmonds is the backup. So just give them all the touches. And, someone else is coming in, they're going to come and steal their touches. We kind of react like they can expand and contract to whatever available space is there, whatever space goes in. My take is running backs are kind of like that in a week. Right? In a week-long setting, Joe Mixon goes down. Travion Williams could come in and take all the carries that Joe Mixon could get. But over the course of a season, that's not really how they actually respond, right? My take is running backs are like balloons. It's a fragile workload, but it is self-contained to the player. And you can stretch it only so far until it pops. And before it pops, it starts losing its color a little bit. You start blowing on the balloon, all of a sudden it's not quite as bright. And then all of a sudden you keep blowing on it, all of a sudden it pops. And my take is essentially it's just a metaphor to say why you have to really look at each running back situation in context, why I don't think that this idea of stealing touches actually works the way that people think it does. Like I currently have, I'll go into it with the Patriots, but I currently have, 70 targets or so and about 130 carries to non-Ramondre backs. Is Pierre Strong currently stealing his touches? I don't think so. I think it's just that Ramondre only projects for so many touches, and there's going to be so many running back touches that I'm projecting in New England because their receivers suck, and Mac Jones is a pocket passer, and all these other factors that you're going to have this larger spillover effect. And Leonard Fournette kind of first comes in and takes that before immediately just soaking up what's there for Ramondre. Anyway, I do have a ton of examples in the piece. I talk about some thoughts on the Jacksonville backfield, the Seattle backfield, the New England backfield. So if you don't care about the metaphor, I have some real life NFL takes in there, but I rooted it in this sort of longer form theory of basically just outlining my constant irritation of how people talk about running back touches, about how people talk about them being stolen, about how people react in this uniform way every time that there's a free agent that is visiting with the team, when I don't think that that's always an indictment of the incumbent. And anyway, so you can go check that out on Thinking About Thinking if you're interested in either the running back analysis or the very long form metaphors.
I just put in the chat for anybody that wants to check it out, but I believe that one was free. I was reading through it last night, and I was just like,
it was a free post, so everybody can watch. Everybody can read that one. Yeah,
everybody can figure out how Ramondre Stevenson is a balloon without any of this being some kind of like fat joke that Ramondre and Lenny Fournette are a little bit oversized here.
Not a fat joke. I also have, by the way, on Thinking About Thinking, I think it was at 1 a.m. last night or something like that. I did publish my full 32 team level projections out for the people. So
really,
those are now there. Those are paid, but yes, they are. Those are now all on Thinking About Thinking as well. And I wrote a lot about why I hate projections, despite having done them.
Despite having done all 32 teams.
Yes.
I was gonna ask, can I get a sneak peek on your? I mean,
yeah,
I have your projections, but what do you got Pollard for in terms of attempts and targets? Because I'm very curious about that.
Let me just pull it up 1 second here.
I'd like to compare them to what Mike Clay has, Max. I think Mike Clay is one of the best in terms of projecting, but I think he's way underweight on his target upside.
Well, so what you got to think with Clay, first, there's a couple things with Clay. First of all, I don't think the Clay, like, oh man, I got to be careful because I always come at Clay, but I don't know if I want to do it on a YouTube channel with 25K subscribers. Okay, I think methodologically, Mike Clay is a lot more like player profile agnostic than I think is good to be when we're doing projections. Like I think he just roots a lot of it in historical usage and then just kind of goes from there. Like I don't know how far he digs into, blending in the prospect profile, blending in per route stats and on scaling up roles. Like I think it's a little bit limited. He also projects injuries and I don't, which is just always going to leave me being way hotter than Clay on every member of a starting offense. My take on projecting injuries is that doing it will reduce the error bars on your projections. So it might make your projections more accurate. I don't think it makes them more helpful. Like I just think generally, if I'm reading a projection, what do I want to know? I want to know how many points is this player going to score if he stays healthy. I don't really want to know how much he's going to score if he plays 15.2 games. So anyway, all that being said, I have Pollard 246 rush attempts, 68 targets, 52 catches.
And that's crazy because he's almost like, it's crazy. He's almost giving him the role that like you've sort of told like Twitter trolls like he's probably not going to have, because he has him at 14 games, but he has him at 243 carries, 51 targets. That's like what, 3 less carries than you have him for in 3 less games.
You only have him for 14 games. That's probably not that far off. In terms
well,
of
he has every running back at like 14 as like a base, so that's like 17.4 carries per game, which I think that's a little bit high, to be honest. And
so
then 3.6 targets.
He actually has a more bullish Pollard projection than I do. The targets isn't that far off. He has basically 3.64 targets per game, and I have 4 exactly. So we're 0.3 targets per game off. That's not actually that far. He has way more carries per game.
It's just Pollard as his RB8.
Yeah, that's interesting because I guess have a less bullish projection, but I think I have Pollard higher in terms
probably
of
more
ranking.
TDs. He has him 10 total TDs in 14 games.
Oh yeah, I have 14.5.
Yeah, that makes sense. I agree that Clay stuff is a little bit limited, but I do like it as kind of just like an unbiased, kind of like very macro look at things, just to kind of get a feel for kind of just like almost like, wait, I just like unplugged my HDMI, but almost like a boomer median is kind of what I treat it as.
I do treat it as a boomer median. That's a great way to say it. Like it's a nice. I check on it too. Like sometimes if I see a certain player and I'm like, am I way off on this guy? I will refer to the boomer median. I'm just quickly checking through because I have all the team sheets up, but I haven't actually sorted them yet. So mostly because I don't actually care about like projection based like rankings in the traditional sense. I'm trying to see
Yeah.
where I actually have Pollard quote unquote ranked. And I think that I have him at I think I have him RB4.
Okay. I think that makes sense.
I have McCaffrey, Eckler, and Barkley project ahead of him, but he projects fourth after that. But like it's again, like I don't really care about the projection-based ranking. Like if I pull up, like so I have Pollard projected at 17.68 points per game. I have Jonathan Taylor at 17.43 points per game. I have Bijan Robinson at 17.05. I have basically every running back from other than CMC and Eckler, every other running back that's in the first 3.5 or first 2.5 rounds. Like I have somewhere between like the low 16s to the mid 17s. So it's like I don't know that the projection should be deciding your decision on those. Like they all I think project similarly at base. It's what's the upside, what's the fragility, do they stay healthy?
I agree. I'm gonna get us in a BBM draft here. I do want to still pick your brain on the projections, but I don't want to take up too much of yours and the viewers' time, I would say. So let's hop into a draft.
I'm sure we can
quick.
talk a little bit about it through, and we can hit on some guys after.
Oh wow, we have a completely open lobby for anybody out there that wants to hop in and snipe me and Jacob.
Golden opportunity for the YouTube audience.
For anybody out there, by the way, promo code Ron. Make sure you use promo code Ron if you're new to Underdog Fantasy. I should have a link, I think, pinned in the live chat. It'll take you straight to Underdog Fantasy. It'll use my promo code. It'll match your deposit up to $100. It's a beautiful thing. But you were saying, Jacob?
Well, I was just wondering if you're excited to draft in the 103. That's what we're about to get again, I think.
I would love that. I decided to put my nuts on the table and go in a slow Mastiff, and I got the 12 spot sandwich between Kerrane. Like it is like the most suboptimal way. It's the most suboptimal way to burn $1,000. Like I'll if I can find it, I'd like to honestly just show you.
Stakes best ball people are wild. I can't do that. I'm not going to say that I won't play fantasy football for a lot of money, but if I'm doing it, I'm fucking starting and sitting my lineup. Like
it's a pretty crazy room. Like this is Peter Jennings, I believe. I think Brink is the guy. I think that he's on Lowell's with Pete. I could be wrong. I think I might be wrong. That might be Brick. And then you have Kerrane here, and then I get the 12 spot, of course. Yeah, I'm not crazy about it. I mean, 4 straight wide receivers. Dobbins, I know you like him. We got Kittle, but don't feel great about
4
any of
straight
it.
wide receivers. Wow, Christian Watson over Jahmyr Gibbs. What are you on ship chasing?
Dude, I'm between Daily Rojo. I need to get my wide receivers in. Is what.
So the commenters they had a very spirited Jahmyr Gibbs Christian Watson debate last night.
I was listening to it, so I didn't get to see
Team
the chat.
Gretch.
I didn't see the chat, but I did see Gretchen Crane kind of go at it a little bit. But it's nice that they're like, you know, good enough friends that they can disagree. And it's like, you know, it's fine. But it was a little bit heated.
Yeah, I was almost hoping to come on before Kerrane bounced because I was I was going to pile on, but I was curious that there was like I was watching because I was on a different show kind of running at the same time, and then I kind of caught in halfway through, and then but yeah, I was curious to hear Kerrane's take on a couple things because some of the stuff because I remember like Greg was giving his pitch, he was like, "Here's how many targets have Gibbs projected for." And I was like shouting, I was like, "Actually, you're too low, Ben. You're too low on projected targets."
I was curious. What did you think of?
I have Gibbs projected for the most targets of any running back, by the way.
Really, I don't think that that's all that crazy, but
he came out like. I know it sounds kind of nuts, but big time dearth of target competition there. So, like the Lions was one where I kind of did.
But sir, have you adjusted after the Denzel Mims trade? Have you adjusted?
I have not.
I think you have to maybe lower it by maybe a full 20 targets in there. But yeah, I get what you're saying. You're saying how many targets you got him at right now on like a 17 game pace? My guess 85.
I have him at 98.
Low? 98? I'm cool with that.
It's probably too high. I understand why it's too high. But like all of his comps, basically, except for CJ Spiller, a lot higher than that. Like Reggie Bush was crested 120 targets as a rookie. Christian McCaffrey 101. Alvin Kamara was I forgot offhand, but it was over. I think it was like 110 or something like that. You look at his receiving profile in college, plus the draft capital investment. To me, he's going to play. You also look at DeAndre Swift's targets per route run, and then you start projecting out Gibbs' routes. You look at the target competition on the depth chart. Like I think he's pretty clearly their second receiving option on the team. I had to manually lower him. Like I think this is like a 19-20% target share player. I wound up lowering it to 17.5%.
I think that's probably fair.
I think that it's aggressive for sure. So certainly I think there's more downside to that than upside, but I don't think it would be surprising. Oh,
AJ Brown
what
here, or what's that?
Brutal spot.
Yeah, it's rough. I mean, the 9 spot. This is just what it's been for me on the back half. Not all of us can.
I don't draft here, so I don't know what this is like.
Do you want to take Brown or Bijan? Up to you. Brown probably.
I'm fine with either way. I guess let's just do AJ Brown. God, this is like.
At least he's a good player.
Shit.
But yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it either, man. I haven't had as much luck as you, dude. Like I'm routinely picking in the back half, and it all is not fun. I was gonna ask, is with your projections and like a rookie like Gibbs, I'm always curious, like how are you almost like, are you adding in any element of like him being better down the stretch?
Not really in the projection. Like I think for most rookies, I do kind of like when I'm thinking about how I get to the end result, I'm kind of like, okay, average of like I'll think about it. Okay, you're gonna end the year at 80% routes, probably gonna start at like 40, and then I'll kind of like be like, all right, I'm gonna base this off like 55% routes, something like that. With Gibbs, I mean, to me, like 12th overall pick, I think his role is gonna be pretty aggressive in week 1. Okay, I mean, and I don't think at any point in time is he gonna like usurp Montgomery. I think it's we're
on the clock,
Adams, right?
Yeah, Devontae Adams for sure. I can't stop taking second round Devontae Adams. I think I would, if his ADP was 10, I would take him probably 10, 11.
Probably take him.
Project well for you.
7,
I have to imagine. Yeah, like I don't see his projection much different from any wide receiver not named these top 4.
I think he's in a tier of his own at 5. And obviously the market doesn't, but I think he is. I think he's clearly behind the first 4. But I guess I have him and Diggs pretty similar. But I think him and Diggs project pretty clearly better than Brown, Wilson, Lamb, St. Brown, personally. I get the age fragility argument, so if you want to put him in that tier, but if his ADP was 8, I would take him at 8.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like I would. After AJ Brown's gone, like for me, I think it would just be Devontae. I even like Devontae. Like in my rankings, just for ADP sake, I've put CeeDee Lamb over Devontae at this point, just because it's kind of where things have to be.
Same as me as well. Yeah.
But in a vacuum, if their ADP was equal, I'd probably take Devontae over Lamb. Like I guess it's close.
Yeah. I take Amon-Ra sometimes if I do CeeDee or if I do Amon-Ra Pollard at that turn, like just for the game stacks. But in a vacuum, I like pretty clearly like Devontae more, especially in half PPR.
Yeah. I mean, like, are you worried at all about Jimmy Garoppolo? Like, I know people are like, oh, Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, I think
really get that.
I think it was, I was watching or I was listening today, just preparing, or not really preparing. I don't want to call it that, but just having Kerrane, I was listening to some of the 7-hour stream or whatever. And after the Liam Murphy King Cap one, which I thought was great, I listened to like the beginning of the BBM3 one, and BBM3 was pouring some cold water on Devontae, pretty much saying like,
BBM3 hates every player over 27.
Yeah, that is very true. But yeah, he was saying something on the lines of like he went there to play with his buddy Aaron Rodgers, and Rodgers left, and now it's just like this weird situation. I think Siegel was also in that stream saying that. And of course, we love Siegel, but I think he was sort
another person who famously thought a fan of the old stuff.
Yeah, but he was pumping up Jakobi Meyers. He's like, Jakobi Meyers might have more more targets than
Oh,
people are
okay.
expecting.
What? This is like the Jacob Rickroad Hunter Renfro is going to out-target Devontae Adams last year. Like look, there's
Oh,
a
that was
lot
a
of
great one.
There's a lot of very smart people that I respect who were out on Devontae Adams last year, and they were wrong. And all I ask is them to sit out the Devontae Adams discourse this year. I just think take a lap, have a seat in the penalty box, and let the Devontae truthers cook. He's the best wide receiver in the NFL. I don't care.
Yeah.
He's better than all these bitches. You hear him talk about his career, like he cares a lot about his legacy. Like Devontae Adams wants to make the Hall of Fame. He wants to go down as one of the best.
You got to demand the trade then, man.
I think he can be angry about Jimmy all he wants, but I think he gets on the field, he's going to try. We tried to do this.
We're back on the clock here.
We
got nothing great. We got Jacobs, Metcalf, Brees, Lamar.
Jimmy double stack. We got a lot of great. Either of those top 2 running backs, I'm pumped about.
All right, let's go Jacobs then, because I just took.
Wait. Are we double stacking?
Do you not want to do that? Because I could take Brees.
Let's do Brees. Brees.
All right, there we go, dude. I'm a smooth operator. Okay. People don't know that about me.
That was some Overzettian fingers.
What I'll say, I don't know. I had a point, but the thing that I was actually going to say is that I lobbed up a question to you as we're on the clock for the second time in a row there. But what the heck were we talking about? Oh yeah, Devontae Adams. Yeah, so you'd be less likely to take Jacobs if you already have Adams.
Well, a little. I don't know. Just as like a tiny little tiebreaker, I guess. Just because I don't know.
Because I'm saying me personally, do
you want to bet multiple bets on the Raiders offense? Like
not dying to. But I've been doing the thing where like Kerrane has sort of gotten me into it, where you just star both sides of the Week 17 matchup, and my peanut brain, I'll come around to the late third and I'll be like, Jacobs has a star next to his name and Brees doesn't, so I'll just take Jacobs. And just because I guess if you do you think Devontae Adams can smash without Jacobs also not paying off ADP? I guess Jacobs injured without an injury.
Season long for sure. In a week, probably not. I guess the big let's make this pick, and then I want to talk through what I couldn't get through in the 20 seconds that we actually had to make the pick because it wasn't really.
Sadly, no Gibbs available to us. That would have been.
Oh, that sucks.
Where did Gibbs go? Somebody take Gibbs way? Oh my goodness! Someone took 302 Gibbs here.
Someone knows ball.
Yeah, respect, man.
He probably did Gibbs Pollard.
Judy here? Judy, Etienne.
I'm fine with Judy or Etienne or Mike Williams.
Let's go Judy. Yeah. I don't have enough Judy, I don't think. I was going to ask as well. I was surprised to see, I think I saw you were talking with Sherman about it, that you prefer Gibbs to Etienne, even like a half PPR format. To me, it's really close. I guess are you just are you kind of getting to a spot where you're almost out on Etienne at this point, or?
Nope, not out on Etienne at all. Just really in on Gibbs.
Really? What's the I guess we've kind of already gone over your affinity for Gibbs.
I take on Gibbs is I think he's I've been in on I've been in love with Gibbs for well over a year, even getting back to I think this was September of last year. I did here's what I think the top 5 or top 10 running backs in Dynasty are going to be in a year from now. And I think I had Gibbs at RB3 or something, and the Zach Evans bros were up in my mentions. And so I've just been all in on. I've been all in on Gibbs as a truly transcendent receiving prospect. I think a lot of times people it's good receiving running back, bad receiving running back. I think Gibbs is truly in a McCaffrey, Kamara level comp sphere of receiving upside running backs. And talking about a guy 4.36, I think he's going to score from distance. So it's very much just that I'm all in on Gibbs. I was originally pre-projections. I was okay, I'm going to be way overweight Gibbs in Dynasty. I'm going to be way overweight Gibbs in all of my full PPR seasonal stuff, FFPC, DraftKings Best Ball. I'll probably just be with the field on Underdog. And then I did my projections, and they came out so bullish on Gibbs that I was okay, I'm just going to be way overweight Gibbs every format. So I want to be a little bit over the market on Etienne. but I'm now in the spot where like I used to be like I just kind of want my discount on both of these guys. Like I'll take them when they fall to the mid to late fourth. Now it's like I have no problem clicking Gibbs at ADP or even ahead of ADP if I have to. But ETN I do kind of want my discount on because he has a pretty wide variance from when he's drafted. Like I get ETN at the 5.2, 5.3 every now and again. So it's a little tough for me to then click him at the 4.3 when it's not like I want to be 20% exposed to him.
Yeah, I agree. I to be honest, until you've kind of made your case here, that's pretty much where I've been on Gibbs. Like I've been all over him in Dynasty. I got ripped to shreds in the YouTube comments when I released like a Dynasty rankings video before the draft, and I had Gibbs at like RB4, like ahead of like ETN and Kenneth Walker, and people were really not happy about that.
Nice. I'm with you. People forget I've had Gibbs at the 102 in my pre-draft rankings prior to the draft. So
I love that.
That was wow. I haven't had enough coffee. I just said my pre-draft rankings prior to the draft. That's a good turn of phrase. Really useful.
All right, so we're about to be on the clock. Pick 57. I guess what are your thoughts?
Oh man, I almost wish we took Bijan now that I'm staring at Justin Fields here.
Oh yeah.
Let's
Fields,
see.
Ayuk are kind of the two that I like. But I'm open to whatever.
Okay, so if we go Fields, then it's Pitts.
Opens us to Pitts, yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
If it's Ayuk, then
Fields goes.
Okay.
So probably Ayuk?
Probably Ayuk. I think so, yeah.
And if he makes it back, we can like talk about Kittle, I guess. If
we talk about Kittle. So what are our other... Okay, so this is part of the reason why I wanted to advocate for the haul. It's not as much about like being out on the Raiders double stack, and it's a little bit more about wanting to have multiple options of games that I'm interested in stacking. Like I knew taking AJ Brown that we're probably not getting perps, and obviously you can never depend on having a team build that makes sense to have Kyler. And then it's like, so okay, you take Adams. We already have open to doing a Richardson. Hall leaves us open to Rodgers and Watson. Whereas, like, if we had taken Jacobs, we kind of only have like one quarterback that is of interest to us through 3 rounds. And Richardson, I just think that's too limiting. That was kind of why I was pushing for Hall there. Had we taken, like, let's say that our first round pick was CeeDee Lamb, not AJ Brown, I probably would have been more on board with doing Jacobs because then we still have that Dak off. Currently, I think we could be looking at, I guess, Kittle would make some sense for the double stack there.
I think Pittman makes sense for Devontae, but I feel like Kittle's probably the play.
I'm fine with Pittman or with Kittle. We might get Waller back to us, so I don't really mind either way. I'll leave it in your hands.
Let's go Kittle.
Okay.
I do like me some Kittle. I don't draft enough of Kittle. I don't think. I feel like Kittle has a case to be drafted just based on his weekly upside. But it does feel like this Niners offense is getting a little bit thin. Just in terms of where you're drafting all the pieces.
Just to keep it straight in my brain, can you go ahead and star Dotson and Quentin Johnston?
Yeah.
Okay. There you go. Those are probably the only round 7 picks that are doing business for us, right? I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, and Elijah Moore, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. How do we like Elijah Moore this year, right?
Oh, absolutely. We like Elijah Moore this year.
Dude, yeah. I think Elijah Moore, and like this is me, I always run into this issue. Like I was talking with Pat with like I because I'll be honest with you, man. Like I always like if I know an analyst out there is a fan of a team, I'm like what do you really know? Like I love JJ, but like he said something about the Steelers. I'm like maybe he just likes the Steelers. Who knows? So I'm always a little bit kind of over the top with that. But where was I going with this? I can't remember where I was going. I thought I had a jet that I was going to talk about, but there's no jet.
Elijah. Well, we're talking about
Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore. That's what it is. But I loved him so much on the former jet. I loved him so much on the Jets. And he was such a baller as a rookie. He was a great prospect. And I'm falling for these hype videos, man. David Njoku. Fun fact: David Njoku went to high school like 15 minutes away from me, or like 20 minutes away. And his little brother, he actually has two brothers. He has Evidence Njoku and Charles Njoku. And Charles Njoku was in the same
one was named Evidence.
One of them is literally named Evidence Njoku.
That's so sick.
Yeah, I think that they might be Nigerian, so they like I guess like I don't know how they end up with David, Charles, and Evidence. But Charles Njoku was like a stud wide receiver in high school, and he my buddy played corner against him in like the state playoffs, and we got dusted by their team just because they have NFL talent on their squad. But so I follow Njoku on Twitter or Instagram is what I'm trying to say, and he came out. Njoku's drip is insane, by the way. Like he's out here in like this almost like a track jacket, like a 90s like starter jacket, and he's out here like catching passes from Deshaun like in a like a chain popped out and everything. But it was like a hype video of Njoku. It was Elijah Moore, Deshaun Watson. They were all getting work in, and I was like, man, like
nice.
I'm sold. Elijah Moore is locked in.
Chief is one of the most drippy players in the NFL. Oh yeah, for sure. I love David Njoku so much. He's the man. Oh my god! I can't believe that Elijah Moore is already gone. I mean, I thought it was pretty possible we wouldn't get QJ or Dawson, but Elijah Moore in the early 7th.
So here's the tough question, man. If Pitts is staring us in the face here, yeah, like it has to happen. It makes me feel terrible about not going Pittman with that last pick.
That's fine. George Kittle loves Pittman. It's fine.
All right, we're taking Pitts, I think, man.
Let's just do it.
And that's just what has to happen here.
Now I really wish we'd taken Justin Fields. Yeah.
Second New Jersey
the alternate universe where we go Fields, Pittman with that last.
Yeah.
I guess we didn't actually have a chance to take.
Yeah. It would have been beautiful though. Fields, Pittman to Pitts. Last note on New Jersey lore. I believe David Njoku and Greg Olsen went to the same high school. Tight end. They're calling New Jersey tight end state. So just something to think about. Greg Olsen, I believe, like maybe the highest recruited tight end coming out of high school, like ever. Don't quote me on that. But I like the 247 all-time rankings.
Okay, we seriously gotta think about what in the world we're doing with our stats here, because we are in deep.
QB is
facing
gone.
Problems. Okay, so we can, I guess, so I'm just trying to think about picking any wide receiver that gives us the stack out. So, like, I guess I'm advocating for Brandon Cooks.
Because we have Dak down the line, is what you're saying?
Like, I just want to have like some, because we're gonna need
with Carr. Dude, I think we take Pickens.
Quarterbacks.
I think we take Pickens this far past ADP. You got Pickett.
Okay.
What do we think? Like, I think.
Yeah. All right.
I just think this far past ADP, I think you just kind of have to.
Okay.
I'm not crazy about Pickett. I'll be honest.
All right.
I don't like any quarterback that wears two gloves. I'll be honest.
All right. Maybe we can do Charbonnet.
Yeah, Charbonnet, dude. I've been taking some Fant late. I don't know how you feel about Noah Fant.
Well, we're not on this team.
Yeah, no, you're very right. You're very right.
Not on this team, I'm thinking Noah Fant.
Well, I was just factoring in, like Kyle Pitts is basically like a flex wide receiver. Like, who knows?
Yeah, but we're still capped at 2.
Yeah, no, we can't take another tight end.
This might be 3-6-7-2, which is such a grody build, but that's kind of where it's looking right now.
Dude, have you ever seen that TJ Hernandez graphic, man? Come on, dude. You know the one I'm referencing?
3-6-7-2.
God damn it! No, I thought 3-6-7-2 was going to be one of the good ones, but it's one of the mid ones. So that's where we're at. 3-5. Nope. No. Yeah, it's interesting. Like TJ Hernandez has a tweet that I have bookmarked that I'll look at, where he has like roster construction and their advance rate over expectation for every best ball mania, and the only 4 that have best ball or over expectation all 3 years.
Can I guess them?
You can if you'd like.
Try and guess. I'm gonna guess 2-6-8-2.
Yep.
I'm gonna guess 2-5-8-3.
Yep.
I'm gonna guess 2-6-7-3.
Yep. And then you got one more.
And 2-7-7-2.
3-5-7-3.
Oh, gross! No, that's the cock build.
3-5-7-3.
Ew.
I was shocked how low, but what I was about to say, I was surprised. It seems like 2 quarterback is more, or 3 tight end is more viable than 3 quarterback, which inherently kind of makes sense.
I think that's pretty bang on, yeah.
But I mean, we do have. I mean, the last few Best Ball Mania winners have had 3 quarterbacks. I think Kerrane did last year.
Well, in
I know
fairness, Liam had 2 quarterbacks because one of them was Zach Wilson. Or no, that was the drafters guy. Liam had Fields.
Oh yeah. I remember that. All right, so we do have Charbonnet if we want it.
Don't say that yet. We got 2 guys that are about to take him from us. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Survived 1 bullet. We got Tyler Boyd here if we want him.
Yeah, I'm actually dying to
We got Alan Lazard here.
Oh my God, I'm dying to take Alan Lazard, dude.
We do need a 3rd tight end.
And Njoku, just for the drip, just for the aesthetic of our team, I think Njoku would do us a lot of good here. I think that's probably the play. Let's see though. Oh, he's gonna get autoed somebody.
Give me James Cook.
There we go. All right.
Okay. So Charbonnet, I think the only issue is okay. Can you click the board really fast?
Yeah.
So CeeDee Lamb guy, how many quarterbacks does he have?
CeeDee Lamb guy has 1
okay,
QB.
So he might not take Dak. I think Charbonnet goes for sure. So I think we just have to click him here, and then we just have to hope on Dak. Or no, we didn't take Brandon Cooks, so we don't care about Dak. Never mind.
But we do care about the other quarterback next to him that I won't name. Just because we have that game. Alan Lazard, of course, who I'm talking about here. So let's look through. And I was talking about A-Rich. I would have liked A-Rich to come back. But it just wasn't going. It just wasn't in the cards for us, man. It just wasn't.
Yeah, I think that Charbonnet pick was really necessary.
You think so? I think so as well.
I mean, we really needed a running back, and we needed to build out some sort of game stack. We now at least have that. I'm okay. I'm fine. Probably B-Rob, I think, because we're probably stacking Purdy on this team too.
Mm-hmm. We have we have like so we have San Fran, 2 49ers. We can get a bring back Washington, and then you're saying oh yeah, you're saying Purdy. Yeah.
Like I'm probably taking Pickett, Purdy, and a 3rd. That's what I'm thinking. Probably Ritter, right?
Yeah, it's probably what we're looking at. Yeah, so let's take B-Rob. Man, all is right in the world with B-Rob going after Antonio Gibson and ADP. Who would have thought, man?
I am now into B-Rob. I used to be like a big Gibson guy, and then the market corrected. It's like it's nice for the ego when you write a column, 5 players after ADP 100 to build best ball championships around, and then Nico Collins and Antonio Gibson rise like 40 picks in ADP. It's like it's a nice hit to the ego, but really sucks the person who wanted to have like 40% Antonio Gibson and Nico Collins.
Yeah. I would have loved if Gibson could have chilled out in the hundreds. I will say I actually brought up that article to Kerrane. I will say that's my bad for sort of having him get out of here before I brought you on. But he was saying that he would actually prefer Ritter and Howell in 2 quarterback builds. Like he would rather go like Mahomes, Allen, and then Howell or Ritter late. Whereas like you in the article, you specifically said that you preferred them in 3 quarterback builds.
I do. Yeah. I mean, I'm more open-minded to it, I guess, if you're doing like a super elite, right? So if it's like if it's like Lamar and Ritter, all right. Hurts and Ritter, all right. But if it's like, I don't think I would do like Justin Herbert and Desmond Ritter.
Yeah, I think that's probably where it gets a little hairy. I think Burrow is where it's close. Like, would you do Fields and Ritter, or probably not because of the
probably
game stack,
would. I think I would. I think the main thing is like the Russian quarterback have such a high weekly floor, right? Like I think a lot of times people talk about the ceiling of Russian quarterbacks, which is obviously a thing, but I think the big thing is like you have this weekly floor with these Russian quarterbacks that it doesn't really make, your second quarterback super necessary. Whereas like Justin Herbert's probably going to have more like 8-point games, I think, than some of the just things kind of break really poorly for him. So I don't know. It's still not my favorite though. Like, yeah, I'd be interested in talking that through with Kerrane, because I'm like very open to having my mind changed on it. But I do think when I think of 3 quarterback build, to me it's like, well, what I'm missing out on in a 3 quarterback build is I'm missing out on the weekly ceiling of the elite quarterbacks. So it's like, how am I gonna find enough ammo? How am I gonna find enough juice to match that? It's like, well, I think Ritter and Howell have more juice than like Mac Jones, so I'll take that. But if I already have the juice from Jalen Hurts, it's like I don't really need juice in that last spot. Like if I'm betting a 2-3 turn pick on Jalen Hurts, I think I'm probably just betting on using Jalen Hurts for all 3 playoff weeks. So
yeah,
I kind of just want to make sure I have a quarterback who will be playing if Jalen Hurts happens to miss 2 games in the middle of the season, so that my team still is live to advance. But that's where I see it, at least.
Do we have any leans here? I'd say I kind of like I'm open to Russ. I'm open to Jalen Warren to get our little Pittsburgh Seattle stuff going on. We do have Judy on this team. If you want to go Russ?
Okay, so I'm fine with either of the 2 you mentioned, and I'd also throw out Rondale as a bring back on AJ Brown.
Let's
because I don't mind doing Kyler too if we're gonna do Kyler Pickett Purdy. That's kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, let's do Rondale and see what gets back to us. I kind of like that. I'm coming around on Rondale, man. Is his ADP higher than Nico Collins right now? I feel like probably not.
Not, bro. And Nico Collins' ADP is a lie. Like Nico Collins, I'm in these slow drafts. I'm in currently in 100 slow drafts.
Yeah.
Because I maxed the Poodle 3 and I put 50 into the slow puppy, and Nico Collins has not yet been available as ADP. Well, I guess none of the puppy slows have gotten anywhere near Nico Collins yet, but almost all my Poodles have, and he's consistently going around like 100 to 105, because you're getting this lag effect, right? Where everyone is willing to take Nico Collins between 5 and 10 picks ahead of ADP. So then every week his ADP goes up by 5 picks, but then people are still willing to take him 5 to 10 picks ahead of ADP. Like I've just been on this. I've been standing here and I'm telling the world that Nico Collins will not stop rising until he passes Cortland Sutton and Michael Thomas, and then he will stop rising. But it's happening. Double-digit ADP Nico Collins will be the case by September 1st.
So Russell Wilson here?
Yeah, hard to argue with, right?
Yeah, Warren went.
Yeah, don't really have a charger, but that's fine. We can like Josh Palmer it up or Josh Kelly it up or whatever.
Oh yeah. What was I about to say? But yeah, I agree with the Nico Collins thing. It is funny.
All of a sudden we have a bevy of stock options. I thought we were going to be worried about what stock options available is, but we have several. We now have a Kyler out. We got a Purdy out. We got a Pickett out.
Let me know if you want me to star anything.
Desperation.
Yeah, we got a lot of. We have a plethora of ways to land this plane, I would say.
Oh, this plane is fine. We're like Sully Sullenberger right now.
Yeah, I guess in a way we are, man. But what was I about to say? Yeah, Nico Collins. I think you're kind of right that he's probably going to creep up to that range. Kerrane was saying that you'll draft him all the way into the 8th round.
I will.
Sky Moore, Nico Collins in a vacuum.
Nico Collins. But I take Sky too. I mean, it's actually I've been warming to Rondale more, and the reason why is like those are the 3 guys. Those are the only 3 guys that I liked post wide receiver window as guys where it's like I can see, and Alec Pierce, 4 guys where I was like, if these are kind of the ones that I'm like not only taking in stacks, like I actually kind of want to go out of my way to have these profiles because I think they're pretty well. Sky isn't a safe bet for routes, but I think the other 3 are a safe bet for routes, but I also can like squint and see some talent upside. And then like Nico and Sky have just been rocketing up boards, and I like them more than Rondale. So now Rondale's kind of the only one who goes where he goes, where Sky and Nico have left him behind. So Rondale kind of went from my 3rd option in that range to now he's kind of my 1st option in that range. Kyler does go, so good thing we went and took Russ. Yeah, here's the tweet. May 5th, 2023. If I had to, I'd take Nico Collins in the 8th. And we're getting closer and closer. The prophecy.
You're getting there.
I tweeted out a week ago. I said we're getting closer. I'm actually quite excited for when Nico Collins hits ADP 95.9, and I can pull everything. When I tweeted that, his ADP was 159. So
that's crazy.
It'll be an all-time closing line value call if he actually does make it into the 8.
Do we have any leans here in terms of we have Pierce for Indy Vegas, we have Roshan for Chicago Atlanta? Like, what are we thinking here?
I mean, hard for me to turn down Alec Pierce. I think he's such a smash. But I'm also fine
if we go
with
Pierce, that's probably our last wide receiver.
Well, that's the thing. Then we probably want to take Roshan because I think we want Mims.
Very true. Because I'm not sure. Yeah, because we can't do 2-6-8-2. It'd probably have to be 3. What were you saying? Like 3-6-7-2 was kind of what we're
3-6-7-2. So we'll take one of Pierce or Mims.
Yeah,
or DPJ because we have Hall. So we have correlation on all the top 3 wide receivers available.
Now we're cooking with now we're correlating, I'd say. I do, dude. Rondale Moore is really interesting. Great prospect coming out. I think year 1 we're a little bit harsh just in terms of the fantasy community, in terms of what he did year 1. Injured year 2, but he was like okay for stretches last year. I feel like I remember. Oh my God, Pierce and Mims are gonna go.
It's okay. We're gonna take DPJ. We have him with Hall.
Here's the thing about DPJ, man.
They can't defeat us.
Here's the thing about DPJ, dude. What the hell is he doing at 20% exposure in your BBMs, dude? How did that happen? How are you more comfortable 20% DPJ than 25% CEH? Riddle me this.
DPJ is gonna run like 80% of the routes with an 8 out of 15 on a Deshaun Watson offense, and people don't give a shit. He's like, you want to talk about better and best ball? Like, he's exactly the MVS use case with a better target earning profile.
I can squint and see it. You don't think? Yeah, I mean, my only counter is like Cedric Tillman late season, but I don't think that you probably even see that as a threat. I kind of like Cedric Tillman coming out.
Donovan Peoples-Jones was good last year, and like I get he wasn't like great for fantasy. He'll never be great for fantasy, but he plays a role, right?
Yeah.
Cedric Tillman also is not a DP. Like DPJ is a field stretching receiver. Like he has wheels. Cedric Tillman doesn't. Cedric Tillman is like a intermediate level receiver. I think Tillman is the post. I think Tillman is going to be like, they have 2 outside wide receivers who aren't long for this world, right? Browns are a sharp organization. Donovan Peoples-Jones is exactly the kind of wide receiver that gets overpaid in free agency because he can play outside and he has wheels. Like he's going to probably get like $12 million a year next year, and the Browns aren't going to be the one who pays it. Yeah. So Tillman comes and takes one of those spots, and who knows how many years Cooper has left, right? He'll be 30 next year. So I think Tillman is a non-threat this year. I think he's mostly a he'll take either the X or the Z if Cooper or DPJ gets hurt, and he'll come in. But Peoples-Jones was rock solid. Let me just pull up his stats here from last year, because I think that they go a little underrated. I
think you're right. I think that he just lacked touchdowns, and it was just a bad passing offense.
Got almost no touchdowns, and it was a little different of a role. Like DPJ in previous years had been like clearly the downfield guy. He was a little bit more of an intermediate guy. If you look at 2021, and 2021 is 8 out was 14.7. 2020 is 8 out was 17.2. It came down to 12.2 last year. So he was still getting some deep play, but Amari Cooper was running more of a downfield route tree than anything that like Odell Beckham was capable of. He comes in last year, 19% target share on 25.5% of the air yards, and he ran 92% of the routes. Like I think week 1, he's running more routes than Elijah Moore. If Elijah Moore turns out to be a superstar, then to me, they either go all in on 11 personnel, or maybe they sub out DPJ in 2 wide receiver sets. But I still think DPJ is a pretty important part of their offense. And even if his target share comes down, like I'll pull up my projection on the Browns, but I have kind of the 3 non-Cooper players pretty similar as a base. Like I have DPJ 80 targets, 51 catches, 731 yards, 14.5% target share.
All right, we got 20 seconds on the clock here. We have Jerome Ford for Cleveland Jets if you want it. We also have Purdy for our San Francisco stuff.
Probably got to go Purdy, I think, first, right?
Yeah.
Because Pickett was gone, so I think
you're right. It would have been nice if both of them were there.
If both of them were there, I would have been fun pushing it. But if we missed out on Purdy, we're kind of screwed. I don't care about the bye week because we need another quarterback anyway. So let's see. Gainwell and Ford just went. Those were our 2 correlated running back options.
That would have been fun.
What are we at right now? Are we at 2-4?
2-4-7-2.
So we need a quarterback and 2 RBs. Is Leonard Fournette available? Because I think we should just jam in that before he becomes a 13th round pick.
Indeed, he is. And I like what you're thinking. Yeah, you want to go Fournette here?
I think Leonard Fournette's a great reason to be drafting right now.
Yes, sir. I have a decent chunk of Lenny.
Find a way to mix them in next to all that CEH.
Oh yeah, him and CH probably my most owned like late round running backs, I'd say.
Same here. We got a Trey Lance truther in the chat.
Trey Lance truther. Oh, awkward moment when Trey Lance plays all 17.
Playing all 17.
We'll see.
The person you're looking for is Sam Darnold.
But
I'm considerably more threatened by Sam Darnold than I am by Trey Lance. Every time I click Brock Purdy.
But I do think you've opened my eyes on DPJ because my thought process was like they keep drafting like we've had now Anthony Schwartz, David Bell, Cedric Tillman. And my thought process was that maybe they're just not happy with what DPJ has been. But I think you're right that it's more of a future play in terms of just like I don't think they still don't have Sashi Brown. I can't remember who their GM is at this point, but I know
Andrew Barry, who's a very analytically focused GM.
Exactly.
Like
so I imagine
originally came in as a VP overseeing their analytical program under John Dorsey. And then when they got rid of Dorsey, they promoted him from within.
And then I think the Vikings GM came from almost like his coaching tree, I believe.
Quessy, like Barry was there, and then Quessy was under Barry as their kind of analytics guy, and he kind of moves up. And Barry is I think quite sharp. I think the Browns are a really sharp team.
Which it's interesting because they keep backfilling these wide receivers. It's funny because like I wonder what their process is at wide receiver because like Schwartz and Cedric Tillman are questionable, but then also like David Bell looks pretty good analytically as a profile or as a prospect. So
he's done, dude. Done.
No, yeah, of course. But I just mean like I as a GM, I see why he made the pick is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree.
If you're numbers driven, it's just like I mean he's striked out twice now. Probably I mean we'll see what happens with Cedric Tillman. I wonder what led to Cedric Tillman. Probably relative athletic score. I feel like you were saying that he's not a burner, but I think that his RES is probably 9+, 8.5+. But it's interesting because the Browns are one of those
teams that
definitely
not like straight fast though.
Yeah,
he's
I
not
agree.
A straight line guy. So his RAS is 9.22, which is quite impressive. But he's a large man, so that's a lot of what goes into it. His 40-yard dash is a 4.55. Yeah. But so I'm a Vols fan, so I've watched a lot of Tillman. Like the way
that's why I wanted to ask you about him.
I think
people say that he was almost better than Hyatt.
Yeah, he was
probably close.
I mean, so Tillman was how the offense. Tillman was the guy the offense ran through in 2021, and then he has a high ankle sprain early in 2022, and that's when Hyatt really became the main focal point of the offense. And then Tillman comes back later, but he gets a tightrope surgery. He was pretty clearly not himself. He comes back really fast off the high ankle to try and come back in time for the Georgia game. And he was kind of not quite himself. So then Hyatt's still
Ritter?
kind of what they're flowing the offense
not
through.
To
I
cut
think
you off.
it is Desmond Ritter, yeah.
So you were saying Cedric Tillman came back from injury.
He comes back from injury, and then Hyatt really outproduced him. But you watch Tillman, he was kind of bulky. He didn't look the same. Anyway, but the route tree that they used is different. Like Tillman's primary route trees was like he's really good on like curls, comebacks, kind of goal line fades. Like where he's a really strong player. And in terms of short areas, like that's where I think he's best, is like kind of out muscling guys and getting into position. And he's like a really smart player, I think, but he's not like a downfield guy. Like I think Tillman is probably like a Michael Gallup type of player, where it's like sometimes, he can maybe win on some of those like deep digs and some posts and stuff. But if you think of Gallup, like a lot of what he's best at is like managing the sideline and winning on those comebacks and hook routes and stuff like that, kind of as that pure outside clashing X wide receiver. That's more Tillman to me, is like kind of an old school outside clashing possession wide receiver, like a really, really poor man's DeAndre Hopkins kind of like route tree.
100%. I starred Kelly and Keontae Ingram just because I think we have some correlation there. You want to?
I'm good with I'm good with either of those guys. Do you like Kelly or Spiller more?
Probably Kelly, but I'm gonna go Keontae Ingram here if that's cool.
That's fine by me.
I saw you and Bean kind of were talking about him yesterday.
Yeah, I really like him as a prospect.
Drew pinged the whole Discord because you guys agreed on Keontae Ingram in July.
Yeah, I mean, Keontae Ingram was a big guy that I was pretty into. He was like one of my big sleeper running backs from last year's class, and obviously it seems like that hasn't worked out, but he has survived the offseason, so we do get a chance at redemption this year.
I like him too. I think he might have caught like 20 passes before Bijan came to Texas, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, he's like he was Roschon Johnson before it was cool.
Yeah, pretty much.
He's just a guy that is kind of what we want out of a backup running back to me, because he's got sufficient size, not a great pass catcher, but he's a sufficient pass catcher. Sufficient athleticism.
What does his balloon look like, do you think? Just to bring this thing full circle here.
Balloon look like?
How is his air occupying that gas?
Right. It's a pretty round balloon. It's a lot of room for expansion, right? He's like what I call a competent plotter, right? You have your dynamic betas. I have competent plotters, which is like the running backs who I think are really fantasy friendly backups, in that they can get on the field in multiple ways. Like I think he can play on third down for you if you need him to. I think that he can play on early downs. I think you don't have to sub him out at the goal line. And you look at his profile of what he did best in college. I look at a lot of the Noah Hill stuff and look at some of the similar metrics that he looks at. Like he was a really reliable runner in college, like always had a really high success rate compared to other running backs, even on his teams. And he played with some pretty solid running backs. Not an explosive runner, but in terms of what you need out of a backup, it's like you can throw Keontae Ingram onto a football field. I don't think he'll embarrass himself. And I think he can kind of be like a poor man's James Conner, which is probably a decent enough fit for what they require.
I feel like I remember him doing well in like a Thursday night game, Keontae Ingram last year.
He scored one touchdown and didn't really do much else. But it was like the Benjamin explosion game, and Keontae Ingram subbed in at the one when had like a long, I think it was like a long screen pass where he like got them down there or something. Or maybe it was just a run. But had like a big play, got them inside the 10, and then Keontae punched it in. We
got some people showering us with super chats. They'd like us to let's talk through their teams first, I guess. Are
we saucing them or are we complimenting them, or both?
We could sauce them up. If they have a good team, I'm not afraid to tell them, oh my goodness, this is the one who took Gibbs. I'm actually very curious what you think about taking Gibbs here, in terms of like, I guess getting unique in a BBM. It's like,
so I don't really know. Okay, so I have no problem with in a vacuum. I have no problem with Gibbs going at a 302, and I also don't really have a problem with taking him way ahead of ADP if it's for a purpose. I still don't really know what the purpose. I guess he winds up taking Goff, but like, I don't know. To me, I would probably save my early third Gibbs to pair with my late second Pollards, right? Like if this is something that I want to do in my portfolio, I'm probably doing it when there's like more of a clear reason to do it. Whereas I don't really know why a Chase Barkley start like necessitates a third round Gibbs. That doesn't.
I agree. And there's probably times as well where he's falling here. Maybe not super often, but I mean like ETN almost got there, If he doesn't take Gibbs there, maybe one of these running backs get there. Maybe that's Gibbs, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's you. I guess if you want to take a 3-2 Jahmyr Gibbs, you can do it every single time you desire to, right? He's never going ahead of that. So to me, like,
it has to be with Pollard then.
I want to pick my spots to do that, right? So it's like I'll take early 2 Pollard teams because I just think Pollard is undervalued, and I want to take him on different types of teams, right? I don't want all of my Pollard exposure to all just be with Cooper Kupp and Tyreek Hill and Jamar Chase. Like I want to have some Pollards with other players, but most of the time that other player is going to be Amon-Ra St. Brown, right? Like or it's Gibbs, because Gibbs goes on the other turn. You have the top 2 lines both go on that other turn. So to me, getting Pollard exposed with Gibbs and getting Pollard exposed with St. Brown makes a lot of sense. But I don't know that it makes a ton of sense to be like, I'm going to take Pollard with, I don't know, Garrett Wilson. And it's like, okay, you can do it.
I agree. Because even when you're talking about Pollard here, you could take Gibbs here, but Gibbs might just be here. And then you're just then you have a 2v2 of you can go Gibbs and Debo, or you can go Gibbs and, DJ Moore. And you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot a little bit, just in terms of
But I think that that's still fine, because I guess it is tough with Gibbs because he has such a wide range, right? I think the only guys that I really do this with are the early round picks, because I want those different parents, right? I want because you're never, if you only ever draft Pollard at ADP, then you're never going to get a Pollard AJ Brown team.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like,
I love that.
What if AJ Brown and Pollard have 30 in the same week, right? In one of the playoff weeks, and you probably want to have a Pollard AJ Brown team, and nobody else has a Pollard AJ Brown team. I understand they're not correlated, but that kind of stuff is interesting to me. But there already will be Jahmyr Gibbs, Jamar Chase teams. It's just those Jahmyr Gibbs, Jamar Chase teams probably have a better 3rd round pick than you have a 4th round pick. So it's a little tough for me. This is one of those things.
Look at the tight ends. I don't know that this should have been a 2-5. If we're really going to sauce this up, I don't know that this should be a 2-5-9-2. Feels like a lot of it feels like a lot more wide receivers than you needed.
Well, you drafted Jameson Williams. So
what are we doing? Dell, way past. I'm sorry, Chris. I'm really sorry, but this is just
Dell, Hyatt, Tillman, Jameson Williams. Okay, he needed 9 wide receivers because only 4 of them are starting in week 1.
Yeah, I would have this Dell pick didn't need to happen. You could just
pick a wide receiver that plays.
Should have been here.
This guy must be the Vols fan. He has Hyatt and Tillman. I'm surprised Hendon Hooker isn't on this team.
Yeah, I don't.
And he has Kamara. He has 3 Tennessee Volunteers. I can't knock this team anymore.
I know. I like their I watch more Tennessee basketball than I do football, admittedly. So shout out your boy Grant Williams for abandoning you. Which actually brings us to number 12.
First time in a lot of years that I haven't had the privilege of rooting for Grant Williams. Honestly, it's become a toxic relationship. I think it's time for me to move on from Grant Williams. Right around when he said I'm gonna make them both. That's when I was like, all right, see you, bud.
I love the Batman meme of Grant Williams though. That shit is hilarious. I will say this is niche, but I wouldn't call myself a Kentucky basketball fan, but I watch Kentucky basketball. They're one of the ones that I like. So SEC and everything. I remember coming out there was dude, I remember seeing Volunteers fans and Kentucky fans in comment sections go into war of Grant Williams versus PJ Washington in the draft. And who would be a better pro or whatever. But it's pretty great. Grant Williams has debatably been a better pro than PJ. But I did want to talk through the 12 spot too. So we also got another donation here. Shout out Jason F. Which is what I wanted to ask you. If you go Lamb here, because we kind of had the same thing with Devontae and Jacobs in terms of your paths to correlation. If you take Lamb here, I assume you're not taking a ton of Pollard.
Yeah, I think that I've seen people do the CD Pollard thing, and I think that it's fine, but it just seems clearly worse than St. Brown Pollard to me.
Yeah.
And it also seems clearly worse than CD St. Brown. So it's just, I don't know, because so many people are going to take CD St. Brown, and then some people are reaching for Pollard St. Brown. It's you're probably going to, if the Cowboys absolutely smash season long and in the first 2 weeks to the point where you're advancing a team with CD and Pollard, then odds are CD and Pollard both have a pretty high advance rate into the finals, or at least one of them does, right? So you're probably seeing a lot of other CD and Pollard teams. And I just think if you have CD and Pollard and you don't have, I guess he couldn't have taken Gibbs, so that's not his fault because he had no idea of knowing that Gibbs. But Oh, right. This person didn't take CD Pollard. Okay. If theoretically you're taking CD Pollard and you're not, I think you really have to take Gibbs the next turn. Because if you're taking CD and Pollard and you don't have Amon-Ra and Gibbs, to me, like you're not drawing bad at all. But I think you're drawing like clearly in a worse position versus other players that have that game. And if you've invested your first 2 picks in Cowboys and you're in the finals, then they were probably really successful. So you're probably playing a lot of other Cowboys teams in the finals. And I guarantee you a lot of them have better game stacks than you do.
Yeah. I'd say like just in terms of the turn
this
here,
is
like,
good though. CD St. Brown's.
Yeah, CD St. Brown is great. My question is like, how much are you thinking through like how common these are? Because I remember like even these were like kind of rare earlier before Chubb kind of stormed up here. I remember you kind of talking through like Wilson,
Garrett
Chubb,
Wilson, Nick Chubb. Ron, I have a lot of good takes in May that just become made totally useless by the end of July when people change the ADP environments. So now I got to get back in the lab, I guess.
Oh yeah, you got to get right back in the lab. Like I'm almost thinking because I keep on just finding myself because like it's like, oh, like we're kind of getting unique here at the 1-2 turn, and then it's like, well, I've done this like 6 times already of like Jonathan Taylor Devontae at 12-13 or like CeeDee Lamb Amon-Ra St. Brown or like Chubb Garrett Wilson I've been messing around with. I don't think that's going to be all that rare really.
Here's my new thing that I've decided is my new kick. So I did a show. If people want to listen to it, I think it was actually a really fun show. I did a show with Eric Beimfor, and we just kind of were shooting the shit for about an hour and a half, really. Like it wasn't like a very structured show. But one of the things that we were talking about all these different draft strategies and how we think they pay off. And what we kind of kept coming back to is that we think a lot of them really pay off, especially if you go running backs early by doing double quarterback in the window. So we're kind of talking about that range of like Tua, Dak, A-Rich, Daniel Jones, Kirk Cousins, Geno Smith, that kind of range. And we kind of got on this other thing. I wrote about it a little bit, but I didn't do like a full article on it. I'd like to at some point if I get the time. But if people check out, I did a piece called 3 Ways to Leverage Best Ball at ADP. And I talked a little bit about the Wilson Chubb stuff before it became really commonplace in that article. But another thing that I talked about was pairing mobile quarterbacks with their running backs. And I think it worked really well with 2 quarterbacks in the window. So something I've been kind of into doing is actually starting like making a really big reach in the first round. I might not have to do this anymore if Barkley starts falling into the 3rd, but doing Jonathan Taylor with one of Barkley or Pollard in my first 2 rounds, and then taking both Daniel Jones or taking both Anthony Richardson and then like either Daniel Jones or Dak, like one of the quarterbacks that pairs with whatever running back I take, because you kind of wind up in this spot where you potentially get players that are really correlated season long positively because you're betting on the offense, but then are kind of negatively correlated week to week in almost a good way. Where let's say you have a team of Richardson, Taylor, Barkley, Jones. Ideally, one of the playoff weeks, Taylor spike week, multiple Taylor rushing touchdowns, probably means Anthony Richardson's not having a great week because all the touchdowns went to Taylor on the ground instead of Richardson. Hopefully that same week, Daniel Jones is picking you up and he's doing it throwing to, not Barkley, right? Maybe you have Daniel Jones and Barkley and Waller, and then you're hitting that stack. And then the next week, like you're still really excited to have Richardson and you're still really excited to have Barkley because you've made these season-long bets on your offense. You're in the finals now, so you're probably correct about these offenses being better than the market's expecting. But then you have this chance for this low-owned player getting into the finals who's been good season long because you've kind of made a direct bet against them, but you have both. It's like, but I think you need to do it with 2 good quarterbacks because it's harder. Like if your second quarterback sucks, right? Like let's say you do Jalen Hurts, Rashad Penny, and your second quarterback is Desmond Ridder. It's like, well, if Penny hits and Hurts doesn't, you probably just got eliminated because you probably don't have the juice. So that's been my new unique thing is to sort of take 2 of the running backs that go in round 2, one of them in round 1, pair them with the 2 quarterbacks, and build a unique setup that way. So that's my latest unique 1-2 start from the back half.
Yeah, and it's going to be great because Saquon's going to sign his deal eventually, and then Saquon JT is just going to be the norm, and it's just going to be back to square one for you of reinventing your late round or late pick
Exactly.
strategy. So this is this guy's team. I like this one much better than the first one. 2, 6, 7, 3. I mean, Herbert, Dak. Do we have? I mean, we have Dallas Chargers. We got Denver as a bring back. I mean, Dallas.
Running backs are a little sad.
Detroit.
But, fair enough, I guess.
So the running backs are a little what?
A little sad. I mean, it's RB1's James Conner. That makes me want to cry. But
team's great, enough. But a little weak at running. Whatever that CD Carter video is or whatever.
Love your wide receivers.
Running backs.
Feel like okay.
This is a team I'd probably draft.
This is fine. I kind of want a 7th RB, but I don't know how we get there.
Where would you have? Yeah, I mean, maybe.
Okay, well, I guess what I would do is I just wouldn't take. I guess I probably would not have taken Mr. Prescott.
Mr. Who?
Probably would not have taken Dak Prescott. I probably would have taken. So I think what I would have done on this team is I probably would have taken a tight end a little earlier, so that I'm at so that I make this a 2 tight end team, and then I probably take a later quarterback, and then I get up to a 2-7-7-2. But other than that, I mean,
I wonder if I'm taking this. Yeah, I was gonna say I think passing on Waller at this turn might have been it, because instead of you could have taken Waller at this turn, and then maybe gone Daniel Jones like here, but I mean you still had Dak, so that's not really big.
So I am going Waller. I mean I get
probably Waller here,
running back. You've deferred running back, but I think if you're kind of thinking about it proactively, taking Waller there instead of a running back buys you an extra running back spot.
Yeah, because you're gonna have to win with quantity at that point. If you're not taking your first running back until round 7, you have to win with quantity.
Yeah, so I'm going Javonte and Waller, and then I'm gonna go. Probably taking like Brian Robinson and Khalil Herbert, probably double topping them at that next spot. And then I'm taking my second tight end really late. I'm taking my second quarterback. Maybe I take Goff when he comes back around. But yeah, that's probably where I'm leaning with it.
So I'd give it like a B+. I think the only thing is if you could have figured out a way to get to like B+, A-. I think it's a fine team. It's just like that one little critique. Now
I like it more than the other one.
Yeah, way more.
I mean, that team could easily win Basketball Mania. I think it's fragile.
Oh yeah.
But if Javonte is a massive smash and he's fully healthy, then he could be like a round 3 level pick, and then you're rolling.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Javonte, like Connor, like it's a good team. The one we drafted, I think, is pretty sweet. We got Brown, Devontae, dude, mid to early second. Devontae is so sweet.
I want Sean Siegel podcast more about how bad Devontae is. He's done his entire career has been a service for the fantasy community because he's
who's this?
Oh, I'm saying like Sean Siegel has spent his entire life like servicing the fantasy community with incredible ideas and just like being one of the greatest fantasy analysts of all time. Mm-hmm. But he's also servicing the fantasy community by fighting Devontae Adams and helping us get him in the mid-second. I think that is
true.
Not 99% of his gifts are telling us who to draft, but this 1%. I can't ride with you, Sean. Him and Gretsch have been. I mean, and Ben knows this because I've ragged on him a bit about it before, but they both faded Adams last year too. So I don't know. Maybe they'll be right this year. Maybe they'll get back.
You can get Diggs Adams now, man, which is pretty fun as well. If Diggs, slips to like 8, you get Adams here. You can then maybe even come back. I have like 1 or 2 teams where I've gotten. I wish I got a label if I can find that slow, but I went Diggs, Adams, came back and got Allen to fall, which is pretty much as good as sex. So we got Breece Hall here. We got Judy Ayuk. I mean, it's a pretty standard team here. The issue is like I'm just not sure that you understand that Breece Hall was put on the pup yesterday.
Oh no, you got one on the preseason pup.
Even though I took him in both of these drafts today. With you and with Kerrane, Judy.
4th round Breece Hall.
Dude, 4th round Breece Hall is going to be a dream.
Oh.
I think it's going to happen. Man. I mean, like, could be Dalvin Cook, could be Fournette. I have to say,
with 4th round Breece Hall.
I'd be so surprised if the Jets actually get Dalvin Cook. I really would. It'd be like, in terms from like a roster building standpoint, like Douglas is an analytic driven guy. We now have Carter, Izzy, Zonovan Knight, and Breece Hall. I don't know. I can't see them going 5 RBs. I already kind of think that Michael Carter's
they're
getting
going to cut.
Carter's
They're
getting
probably
cut. Is
cutting
my
Carter
guess.
or Knight, right?
Yeah. Maybe Knight comes back down to the practice squad and they cut Carter and then they bring on Cook, but it's like,
but even without Cook, they're probably cutting Carter or Knight.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm like. It's already feels a little bit crowded. I mean, maybe that doesn't stop them from doing that, but I don't know. Douglas has kind of been, I mean, even though he just took a 24-year-old in the first round, he's kind of been Moneyball oriented where he's not trying to spend up on running back or really pay a ton for it. But what do I know?
I mean, I just don't even care really if they give Dalvin Cook.
Because it would be like a 1 year, but Cook might want like 2.
Well, whatever. I just Breece Hall is just so much better than him if he's healthy, and we all know what the Breece Hall bet is already. It's just, is he healthy? Like that's just what it is. If Breece Hall is healthy, then he's going to be awesome, and if he's not healthy, then he's not going to be awesome. And it doesn't really matter to me if Dalvin Cook is there or not, because if Breece Hall can't play this year because he's too hurt, then he's going to fail anyway, and that's very possible, and that's why he's going in the middle of the 3rd round instead of 1st overall. And if Dalvin Cook is there, that all that does is gives them a much better insurance policy if Breece Hall is cooked. But if Breece Hall is Breece Hall that we saw last year, and Dalvin Cook is Dalvin Cook that we saw last year, then Breece Hall's playing him off the field.
Yeah.
But they can't know what Breece Hall, they can't be 100% sure what Breece Hall they're going to get, just like we aren't. So I totally get why they're hedging their bets.
Yeah, it's like almost insurance in a way.
There's just no way that if Breece Hall is as healthy as we need him to already be a smash in round 3, right? We're already comfortable with it. If we're willing to be overweight Breece Hall in round 3, we are already comfortable with the risk that he is irreparably injured in this season. And we're doing that because we think he is a transcendent player. And all of that is true, both the risk and the upside, with Dalvin Cook or without Dalvin Cook. The bet does not fundamentally change. Healthy Breece Hall is by far the best running back on the Jets roster, with or without Dalvin Cook. And I think, Brock, that is exactly the thing that I'm talking about. Like,
that's the downside.
Right. If he's not his normal self, that's what I'm saying. If he's not healthy, I'm not saying he's literally not playing, but I'm saying like that is the risk.
If he's Dobbins,
currently, that's the risk currently. That's the risk if Cook is there, right? If Breece Hall is healthy enough to play games, but he's not the Breece Hall that we watched last year, then he's going to be a bad pick. Like, but Dalvin Cook's not changing it, right? Like it's just. You're making the bet on health. You're weighing the upside versus the downside at health. I think in round 3, it's a clear pick. If Breece Hall did not tear his ACL, I think he would be the 1st overall pick in fantasy drafts this year. So drafting him in the late 3rd seems like an absolute steal for that. And if the bet fails, that's fine. I could easily fail, but I'm making this bet every single time. And if Dalvin falls and we even get cheaper Breece Hall, to me, that just bakes in even more risk. If we get like a round 4 or 5 turn Breece Hall, I'm drafting him every single draft. I don't care. I will stake my season on that easily.
Yeah, me as well. I'd have him easily 40% or more if I could start taking him in the 4th round. Now, I will say the rest of this team, I think, turned out...
You take Amari Cooper over Breece Hall? Oh my God. You hate life. You hate life.
Just put your $25 in a bond, maybe. So the rest of this team, the way that it shook out, it's solid. We could have gone Pittman over Kittle, but I kind of like 12 picks past ADP Pitts. I mean, you figure that like these guys have such a high weekly ceiling. I mean, Pitts still hasn't really demonstrated it yet, but with the ADOT and everything, I think that it's there. That they could just end up in the flex spot in a half PPR.
Where you draft your tight end 2 before your tight end 1, but we did here.
Yep, that's exactly what we did, but it was for the sake of the Purdy stack. But it's a solid team, 3-6-7-2, kind of an ugly build here, but I like the correlation. Got Pickens to Sharp. We got some Ritter action with Pitts and Roshan. Solid team. It's a fun team.
I mean, our running backs are pretty sketch, I guess. Admittedly,
especially early season.
I'm really pumped that we took Brian Robinson on this team because he's exactly what this team needs. Like this team really needs a guy who can get you 9 every week at running back, and I think Brian Robinson, like he is the cheapest floor on the board, right? Like, he's just going to get carries and he's going to get 8 to 10 points every single week, and then he'll occupy one of the spots, this is what we need, right? If that Brian Robinson, so that's big because Conte Ingram could easily be a 0. Charbonnet is probably an early season L. Rochon's an early season L. I mean, Lenny, I guess, could just not sign, but even if he doesn't sign in New England, just the fact we heard his name again and that he's taking workouts like that's encouraging to me because we haven't heard anything about Kareem Hunt. It's like, is he interested in playing football this year? Hard to say.
Like a Will Fuller situation with Cunt, or not Cunt, but Hunt.
Wow, Kareem Hunt.
I had a buddy in my home league. It was like the year that it was like Kareem Hunt's rookie year, and he named his team. It was like Lick My K Hunt. It was hilarious. All right, so that's the draft. I appreciate you coming on here, Jacob. Another one of these. We've done it again. Thursday morning stream. I have to imagine your Ireland trip is coming up.
It's coming up, but I have at least. I want to say at least have 2 more before I head off to Ireland. So 2 more early morning streams.
All right,
sweet. And then we'll see. Maybe I'll put it this way. I'm gonna bring my mic and my cam to Ireland just in case I happen to have a free moment, but don't count on it.
All right, sweet. I appreciate you as always making time to come on here. If you have anything to plug, I know you said you just finished up projections on Thinking About Thinking, which is very exciting. I'll have to look through those. Yeah,
so I'm starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel of the off-season posts here on Thinking About Thinking. All the projections are out, and I wrote a big post alongside those, just kind of talking about interpreting projections, what I think is a useful way to look at projections, what I think are less useful ways to interpret projections. And then kind of my coming post, I'm going to update all of my best ball rankings after having done projections. So I'll be making some changes. Christian Kirk is going to be moving up. Mike Williams is going to be moving up. Some other guys going to be moving a little down. And then I'm going to release my first run of redraft rankings. They're going to be probably tailored towards the FFPC tournaments, but I think, if you want to use them and draft mostly off of them for like NFFC or for Yahoo leagues, it's not that different. And then we're going to be kind of doing some spotlights on some of the spots in the projections that I think are either places where I really changed my tune after doing them, just places that I think are a lot better, a lot worse, or some really ambiguous spots that I found just very difficult to project that I think are interesting. And then that'll be kind of a wrap for sort of the best ball specific side, I think. And then we'll be into the off-season Hitchhiker's Guide ramp up. So we'll be doing the spotlight on every single running back on 53-man roster as we narrow down our list. I'm going to be doing it a little bit differently this year than I've done it in the past, but I'm excited. But we're going to have off-season Hitchhiker's Guide content and then into the regular season. So
that's what I was going to ask. What you're looking at in season? It's going to be mostly the Hitchhiker Guide.
That's going to be the main deal. Yeah. So I mean, basically, if you want a like Hitchhiker's Guide-esque approach to every position, I would encourage you to subscribe to Ceiling Signals.
Yeah,
because Ben does it better than I can. Yeah, I'm going to be doing the Hitchhiker's Guide every week in season. It's going to be probably a little different this year. I don't think I'm going to have it be as like gamified where it's like we're streaming this player by this waiver. I think it's going to be a little bit more of just a general running back usage column and running back strategy column. Because that's my site now and I can write it however I want. But
beautiful thing.
But I think but the off-season stuff I'm pretty excited for. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do like a it's not going to be just confined to the 0RB guys. I'm going to do sort of an off-season spotlight on a number of different running backs kind of by group. So I'm going to do like a spotlight on the 2-3 turn guys. We're going to do like a big deep dive in each of them. We're going to do a spotlight on like the most ambiguous backfields. I'm going to do a spotlight on ambiguous RB2 training camp battles. So if you want to read probably a 5,000 word article that goes into Josh Kelly versus Isaiah Spiller and Corey Clement versus Keontae Ingram, oh, that's coming. And then eventually I will do kind of the thing that I did last year where I like narrow down my favorite 0 RB targets by round. And then we'll probably do in season. I think I'll kind of like pick a couple interesting running back spots to focus on that are kind of in the news. And then I'm going to kind of rotate through the divisions each week to get like a spotlight on what's been happening in that backfield throughout that season and kind of take both a seasonal and dynasty lens. So it'll be different than last year, but I'm still quite excited. I'll be bringing that as a weekly thing.
Yeah, that sounds great. And I'll say to anybody out there that doesn't know what the Hitchhiker's Guide is, a lot of my subscribers, like, they'll follow my strategies of 0 RB, hero RB, and the element of that is, almost streaming your RB2, which I think Jakob does a great job of covering, where in season he's going through, how he's playing in terms of guys he's grabbing off of waivers and guys that he's looking at in terms of just weekly starts and everything. So it's a great article there. I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate everyone that came out here for the stream. I love you guys, and I will see you guys in the next one.